Yes, there we are. There's Destiny. Okay, welcome. I was just telling Soph a minute ago. So what we're gonna do is 2 3 minute intros. I'll and then okay, so we're gonna do 2 3 minute intros. I'm gonna let you guys bring up a topic. We'll start with her on the topics. We'll start with you on the intros. And then after she brings up a topic, you guys discuss that. Then you bring up a topic, whatever you want. Then you guys can discuss that. And then from there, you guys will probably lead the way, but I do have a few topics too, if they are required. Does that sound good?
Go for it.
All right. So we'll start with you on the intros. Oh, real quick. So we were talking about before you got here, Nick Fuentes. Just real quick. This has nothing to do with you guys' discussion, but you did have a little thing with him last night in Sargon. Apparently, he was banned off Twitch. People trying to blame you for that. Did
Sargon?
I didn't. No, Nick Fuentes was banned off Twitch.
Oh, damn.
So I guess if you have any comments on that or whatever.
I have no idea why he got banned. I don't know.
Okay.
I think we have an idea of why.
Oh, I don't know. Are you friends with Twitch staff or?
Huh? No, I have a feeling that Twitch that Twitter poll on Trainwreck's Twitter account. I think some people aren't too happy about the results right now, and I think they might have lashed out in a very emotionally immature way.
That actually makes a lot of sense, knowing how the entire infrastructure around Twitch is working and how many different people are involved in banning channels. It totally makes sense that one person saw a random poll on Twitter that got linked on the poll threads and decided to ban an account over it.
No, I'm talking about people massively flagging something.
What do you mean? Everybody massively flags everything. I mean,
yeah.
All right.
I mean, you do know you're talking to somebody that you do know you're talking to somebody that's had multiple accounts banned on Twitter, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah,
if
I'm aware.
Okay, yeah.
I'm aware.
All right, okay, yeah. So I mean, whether he got reported for something is one thing, but getting actually banned requires you to do something. I don't know if he's done something on his channel or not that he got banned for. I have no idea.
Okay. I just wanted to give you a chance to respond to it because of course, people are saying a lot of shit.
Sure, yeah. I don't know. I don't report people on Twitch generally. I might have for Brittany Venti. Fuck that bitch. But otherwise, no, I don't usually report people.
Okay. All right. We're gonna do the intros. 3 minutes. Let me go ahead and hold on. I have to refresh it because I accidentally started. All right. We'll start with you. 3 minutes. Intro. Whatever you want to do with your 3 minutes. And we'll start it, Destiny, with you right now.
I just introduce myself.
Or whatever. Opening statement.
Opening statements. I don't even know. We're talking about. Hey, I'm Destiny. I do progressive politics. On Twitch, I would be considered center-right in Europe. I'd be considered probably center-left in America. Socially, I'm progressive. I'm a big capitalist. Some people might call me a neoliberal. People that get triggered at saying that would call me a sock dem. Yeah, that's all I got. And then I do video games sometimes.
Okay, you did not use your full 3 minutes. All right, we'll give you 3 minutes. Opening statement. You can sing a song, as we were talking about earlier. You can talk shit about Destiny, or you can just do whatever you want with your 3 minutes, and it starts right now.
I guess I'm just excited to talk to Mr. Bonnell, and I do YouTube videos, and I guess I would be considered anarcho-capitalist, but I have problems with political denominations. I don't really know what to say.
All right, that's good. Okay, now we'll go back to you, Soph. You have the opportunity to start the topics of discussion here this evening with whatever you want.
Well, I wanted to talk about Destiny's views on child pornography. Now, he's stated that he thinks child pornography being used in a therapeutical setting by obtaining consent from the children depicted. I sort of wanted to talk about that hypothetical.
All right. Fair enough. Destiny, do you have anything to say about that? Or
yeah, I had a 2-hour debate with a guy called Amos E, where I defended the age of consent because apparently nobody in the skeptic community was able to do so. As part of that debate, Amos asked me if there was ever possibly a good way that child porn could exist. And I was made aware of some studies by somebody that said that it's possible, as hypothetically as part of therapy, it might be possible to make people not rape kids by letting them use previously produced child porn gathered with the consent of the people that had already been made from. I don't know if this would actually work. There are probably better ways to do it. For instance, like shit like Lolicon or making 3D child porn or whatever the fuck would probably be better than using actual child porn. But that was the answer that I gave at the time. And yeah. As somebody who's generally in favor of children not being raped, it seemed like, I guess, if it works, then it works.
Well, okay. Well, but you also said in that debate that an argument could be made for pedophilia if there was no social stigma around it.
I don't. Maybe in a totally different world. I'm not sure. It's very hard to entertain that type of world. I mean, you can make arguments for mutilating people that are alive in a different type of world.
Well, do you like what's exactly your position on that statement, because it was unclear what you
I don't.
meant when
Why
you
would
said
I?
that.
Why would we discuss possibly different worlds right now? That seems like a really weird. I mean, we can entertain like different existences right now. I guess if you want, we could talk about a world where people can't see or hear. I mean,
I was just mentioning that that's what you brought up in the debate with MOCE.
yeah, if you want to run through that entire debate, we can. But I mean, like sniping out like one or two comments from it. I mean, what's the purpose? Try to make it sound like I'm like pro pedophilia or something? I mean, you realize I spent that entire debate arguing in favor of age of consent. We can revisit those arguments if you want.
Yeah, but it was just strange because you said something about not wanting children to get abused, and you suggested in that debate that the only negative of that would be the stigma that the child would face after.
Not really. That's one of like several problems with an adult person having sexual intercourse with a minor person. There's plenty of like exploitative things that exist there. One of them is the stigma that's carried with sexual contact that somebody at an early age can't understand. Another thing is possible power dynamics that cause one person to abuse another who's not comfortable saying no. Another is actual bodily harm that's caused by a more experienced person having sex with a younger person. Another is potential STDs, potential pregnancy. There's like a myriad of issues that all surround the problems with older people having sex with younger people.
Well, yeah, that's my position on that too. I just wanted to clarify that. But with the child pornography thing, there's a few problems I have with that hypothetical. First of all, what person would consent to having their exploitation distributed to pedophiles?
It's possible that nobody would.
Yeah. So then how would that work exactly?
Well, it sounds like it wouldn't if nobody would.
Yeah, but you said that was,
I said that you would have to gather it with their consent if you were to even do this. I don't even know if this would work. But if you were to do it, you'd have to get their consent. If you get nobody's consent, then you just wouldn't do it, I guess.
To my understanding, you defended that hypothetical on several occasions, but...
No, I don't defend the hypothetical on several occasions. It's just I have to revisit the argument time and time again because people like you will snipe like one or two sentences out of a debate where I defend age of consent to make it sound like I'm pro-child porn, which is obviously a ridiculous position. Like, just the way that you're framing this argument is hilariously stupid. Do you honestly think I'm going to sit here and say, well, if you can't get it with their consent, you better just steal the child porn that's made of somebody that's already been abused, that's already probably traumatized from their experience, and that probably wants to forget about it like every moment of their life? You really think that's the argument that I'm going to give?
You're strawmanning me right now. I never said that.
I know you didn't, but you're heavily implying it. Like, I'm curious. What did you think I was going to say then?
Well, I assume you would have said that maybe, some would consent to that.
Well, but you just asked me if nobody did. Then what would I say?
What do you mean?
If nobody consented to that, then what would happen next?
I guess the argument would end, but you can't automatically assume that I'm implying that you're like, endorsing child porn with no just.
I don't think I've ever endorsed child porn. I don't know what you mean. That's pretty loaded.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not implying that.
Oh, okay. Well, then yeah. Well, I mean, that's my answer. If nobody would consent to it, then obviously you wouldn't go any farther.
Okay.
All right. You guys got anything else on the topic, or should I kick it over to Destiny and let him bring up his own intro topic?
Let him bring up his own. I was just trying to clarify his position on that.
Okay, fair enough. Go ahead, Destiny.
I thought. What do you have for topics?
Well, I mean, that was the set. I mean, I do have a few topics.
I didn't know I was supposed to bring shit. I mean, whatever. We could talk about her leaked logs about like carrying firearms to like kill Muslims or some shit. I don't fucking know.
Well, there you go. If that's the topic you want to pick.
All right, sure. Yeah. Do you want to kill all Muslims?
No, I don't actually.
Can somebody link the logs? I just want to have the logs in front of me so I can read exactly what was said, because a lot of people seem to backtrack over what it is they've said.
No, I don't think you can read those on the air.
I just need them in front of my own eyes, just so that I know exactly what's being said and what actually happened, because there's a million fucking videos out there of everything I've ever said. So
now, real quick, Soph, are those logs real, or are those something that somebody's made?
Oh yeah, they're real. I'm not going to deny that.
Okay.
That's what I said.
Okay, so the logs that I see are fuck Muslims, fuck them all. I wish an atomic bomb would drop on the Middle East already. I fucking hate those blankety blanks with all my might. Fucking pedophiles and child rapists. I wish there would be a Hitler for Muslims, gas them all. This will always be relevant. Doing one of two of the following things will satisfy my life: destroying the pedophile rings in Hollywood and killing a substantial amount of the Muslim pedophile population. So
now let me say that these don't represent the views of the rapporteur. That was a quote, not the content of
oh
the
yeah.
show,
So
yeah.
why man? So we got a lot of hatred here for Muslims.
Go ahead, Sophie. You can respond if you
Well,
like.
am I supposed to like defend my? Well, okay. I have a question for you then. Do you think that was an idea I was expressing, or is that something I endorse completely and seriously mean?
Why can't it be both?
What do you mean?
Why can't it both be an idea that you're expressing and an idea that you sincerely endorse?
So you do think that I sincerely endorse that?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, reading this, it sounds exactly like what was in the manifesto of the New Zealand shooter, and he seemed to genuinely believe it.
You actually trying to? Okay, well.
Wait, am I actually trying to what? I read the manifesto.
Yes,
I mean, we can talk about the similarities if you want. Okay.
But you're trying to. Okay. It just seems like you're trying to associate me with Brent Tarrant and call me a shooter, but I guess I can't assume that.
Well, firstly, I don't even know if you could carry a gun, like physically. Firstly, secondly, I'm not saying that you're the same. I don't think you've actually killed any Muslims, but the ideology is very similar, right? Fuck Muslims, we should kill all of them, et cetera, right?
You can only make that claim on the basis that I meant everything I said.
That is indeed true. Now, there is the possibility that words have no meaning and that you just type a whole bunch of random letters and maybe these are the ones that came out on your keyboard. I fully admit that it's highly improbable, but that could be the thing. So would you like to take the position then that you didn't mean any of what you said here and it was all just a big meme?
I would like to take the position that it was a hyperbolic expression of rage.
Rage against what?
Rage against what I saw in the Rotherham cases.
And you felt the need to target all 1.8 billion Muslims as a result of that? Did they all come together in support of that, or?
I'm not targeting all 1.8 billion Muslims.
Okay, that's strange because the second line is fuck them all, and the first line is fuck Muslims, so it kind of sounds like you're targeting all of them, but maybe you were ineloquent here, or?
Bonald, do you know what a hyperbole is?
I do know what a hyperbole is. Do you know what words are?
Yes, I do. I actually do. I'm using them right now.
So something like I hate Muslims might be like a hyperbole. Something like fuck Muslims, stop, fuck them all. That's like a clarification. I mean, I guess you could argue that everything is hyperbole. In which case, I guess we could just move, if you don't want to defend any of the words, I don't know.
No, I am defending them right now. I don't think there's.
Well, you're not. You're
wrong with what I
backpedaling
said.
right now. You're backpedaling really
How
hard.
am I backpedaling?
Because you're telling me that I can't attack you based on what you've said here because you don't stand by what you've said. It was just a meme or it was hyperbole.
It was hyperbole because I was really angry. I said what I said because I wanted to express my rage somehow. It's not a perfect articulation of exactly what I think. I mean, to assume that I actually want to drop an atomic bomb on the Middle East is kind of absurd.
Well, you didn't say you wanted to drop an atomic bomb. You said you wished one would be dropped. But no, I mean, you expressed rage against all Muslims. It wasn't just the Muslims in this particular case. It wasn't even just a rapist. It was all Muslims.
Yeah, because it was an exaggeration.
Okay. I mean, some people would call that bigoted, but I mean, you could say it's hyperbole, I guess. Well, yeah, that's the definition of the word, literally, is when you expand hatred to an entire group of people based on a bad assumption. Like all Muslims are pedophiles or rapists. I mean, that is the definition of the word. I know you're not a fan of those, but we can skip all this. Okay, it's hyperbole, sure thing. So let's get to the meat of what it is you expressed here. Yeah, sure. So what are you trying to express?
Are you being sarcastic?
What?
Okay, but have you ever said anything just to see how it feels or to try to express an emotion that you didn't actually mean because you were in an altered state of mind?
Yeah, probably. I've said things like I think I'll kill all Riven players or something in League of Legends. But I mean, like in the current political climate, I don't think Riven players are generally targeted for genocide in League of Legends, even though maybe they should be. And I don't think that this is like a big thing that's like sweeping the world right now. I'm not worried that if I actually say something like this, people are going to start targeting Riven players. And I don't know if it's possible to be targeted or to have like a targeted hatred towards a Riven player in the same way it is based on somebody's like religion or ethnicity.
Now, let me ask you one thing. Now, I see this in the chat, and I vaguely remember this I don't remember the exact quote, but Zank Fappa. By the way, I'm going to read the super chats here in a minute too. Zank Fappa says, "Ask Destiny about bombing Mexicans." Lol. Now I do remember something about that. You saying something about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's another like one-liner that gets like sniped out of a greater conversation. So I was having a conversation with Mr. Medicare, and we were talking about American foreign intervention. And I made the case where I essentially said something along the lines of like, we spend all of this time and money with military intervention in the Middle East. Why don't we spend a little bit more time like south of our border, paying attention to stuff going on down there? It seems like it would benefit our country more. And somehow that got interpreted into we should go and bomb or carpet bomb Mexico is the meme. I mean, you can go and watch the debate, but yeah, what?
Can I bring up?
Yeah, I saw it a little bit, but I didn't remember the exact. Yeah,
can I bring up a point to that real quick? What about your multiple statements about political violence towards people on the right?
The statements that I've made is that there are certain ideologies where I believe it is probably morally justifiable, or most definitely morally justifiable, to take physical action against it. So, for instance, let's say that
real quick, are you talking about preemptive violence?
Yes.
Or are you talking about so does this go towards your statements of wishing to excise all people on the right from your country?
Probably not. That seems really extreme, and I don't think that all people on the right would qualify for this. That seems like a really broad
but that is
brush.
what you said.
I might have said that in hyperbole before, sure. But again, the difference being that I don't think we're actually excising people in the right in America. This isn't something that is like actually happening, whereas people are engaging in like targeted bigotry against like Muslims or other denominations or whatever. So for instance, I wouldn't make the same type of comment against like gay people or LGBT people or other people that have been targeted for hate attacks in the rest of the world.
Okay, go ahead. So if you're gonna say something, go ahead.
So
sorry, go ahead.
You can say to kill all conservatives and castrate them, and you wish they would be hanged just because they're not targeted in the political climate. Because I'm pretty sure they are. You know, like there's tons of articles about how far right extremism is on the rise, in contrast to Islamic extremism, and so it's certainly targeting right-leaning groups.
Yeah, so when I'm talking about targeting, I'm talking about real problems, not like an article in WAPO or the New York Times. I'm talking about people actually being shot up in mosques, or people that are actually being removed or banned from entering countries, or people whose very existence is threatened by certain groups of like political parties. I don't think that this is happening to the right.
Haven't like right-wing people been banned from the UK?
I think individual right-wing people have been, sure, but I don't think...
Is that not a serious problem?
That's a really hard one for me to ask, or for me to answer. You're asking me to basically evaluate the morality of another country's laws. Personally, I think in order to get banned from a country, I think you need to do something extreme. I don't know if just having like a bad set of beliefs is necessarily a good enough reason to ban someone from a country. That's my personal belief. I don't think in America we normally do that. But I don't know if I could say like, well, the UK should do their stuff like this, or Australia should do their stuff like this. I don't know if I would make a statement that strong.
Why not?
Because it's an entire other country's like set of laws. I don't know if I can like prescribe America's like views on freedom of speech to every other country in the world. America tends to be more, in my opinion, I enjoy this. I think America is generally more extremist when it comes to freedom of speech, but I just feel uncomfortable saying like every country should follow the way that we do it, which I believe most of you guys would too, right? You guys argue about sovereignty and everything all the time. Like if you're from the UK and you want to say like the UK should have more freedom of speech, well, yeah, then that's on you. But I feel it feels weird.
I can sit there and make fun of it, but I mean it's up to the country. I mean if they want to.
Yeah, like personally, like if I was British, I probably wouldn't be in favor of that. I'd have to see the particular people and why they were banned from entering the country. But if I was the UK, I'd probably be like against that. It feels weird as an American to say that other country should change their laws. I don't know. It just feels.
I mean, if I was there, I would definitely be against it, and I'm gonna sit here and mock it. I'm very happy to be an American, and the freedom of speech is pretty aces, I have to say. But yeah, I mean, yeah, if a country wants to shut all that shit down, I mean,
sure. Are you in favor of Brexit, Soph?
Yes.
Okay, so then you probably would also feel uncomfortable telling another country how to run their country, right? That you'd be infringing on their sovereignty?
Well, I would be fine with it if every single person in the UK agreed that freedom of speech should be limited.
Yeah, cool. So we have okay, cool. Then we're on the same page. Yeah. I mean, if that's how that country runs their laws and it's a democratically elected body of people, then it seems like most of the people probably want it.
So you can sit here, at least in my opinion, and I won't go on too long because it's supposed to be you guys, but you can sit here and say, look at another country, what's going on there, and say you think that's wrong. And I don't think they should be doing that. while still saying they have the right to do that if they want, right? So
Yeah, kind of, well, yeah. Again, it's just
yeah.
it feels weird to say like, so it's a democratic country. They can do their own elections and they can figure out how they want. And I don't think they're violating like a core moral principle of mine. So, for instance, if another country were to say we're going to make it illegal for for men and women to go to the same restaurants or something, right? I'd be like, okay, well, hold on, this is kind of fucked up. Like morally, like at a fundamental level, I'm really opposed to that. But if another country wants to change the way they handle, say, like hate speech or political violence or something like that, well, on these things, I mean, that's up to the country. As long if it's a democratically elected country and that's what the people want and that's who they elect, I mean, that's kind of up to them, you know?
All right, let me read these. Rugal Migdal says, so if you're a good kid, don't worry about things. Hickson Hammer says, play nice, Destiny. Ron Sun says, don't know, guys. I think Soph is a very bad faith actor, quote. John Smith says, good job. The timer was a great idea. Yeah, that really worked out fucking perfectly, didn't it? Eric Harrison says, Destiny is a pedo rake. God's Plan says, ask Destiny why he cares about responsible intelligence science when he sees no responsibility to continue the human race if they don't feel like it.
Sure. So a responsibility to continue the human race implies that you are somehow burdening your current existence in order to be concerned with the hypothetical future existence of people. That seems like a very hard philosophical argument to make. However, scientific advancements benefit the people that are alive today. So, for instance, like advancements in technology today benefit me today. I get better cell phones, better computers, better cars. Those are things that are good now. Forcing me to change the way that I live my life in order to advance the human race to possibly help some future unborn citizen, that seems like a really hard position to defend. I'd be surprised if somebody could do it.
All right, Eric Harrison says, Destiny put the meth, coke / Adderall down and quit raping kids. That was a little spicy there. Nick 3191 Nick 31910 says, big ups, Liquid Richard. Shout out Sean Ranklin. TSG says, goodness Soph looks like your live stream with Venti to prep for this debate really paid off. LOL. Armchair Warrior says, Destiny stop side tacking. He always dodges the topic.
If you ever think I change or dodge anything, or if I'm not answering a question directly, I give anyone in here permission to stop me immediately. I will always answer any question directly asked to the best of my ability. Every single time, I swear to God. If I'm ever not, just stop me.
I'll read a few more and then we'll get back. Hickson Hammer says, Ralph, you wuss, moderate. Armchair Warrior says, she said Muslim pedos, yet Destiny just goes off on something. Hickson Hammer gave 5, didn't say anything. Willa, a.k.a. Bloody Legend, says, Tiny has fapped to Shadman's drawings of Soph. The Packard Goose gave $1, didn't say anything. Propane Daddy says, not a fan of Destiny, but he is winning right now. Will says, I'm coming from JLP and would recommend that you both drop your anger and forgive those who have wronged you. Deal with injustice with discernment, not anger or hatred. Life will improve so much. Okay. Amazing. All right. So we do have a few topics. We'll start with online censorship. I guess that's, of course, a big thing going on. I'm speaking of Nick Fuentes. He was kicked off Twitch. There is a strain of thought on the left, and I'll ask if you subscribe to Destiny, and you guys can go back and forth after that. Shows like this one, although I'd say we're mostly lighthearted on this show, but right-wing people, the quote-unquote, members of the alt-right, anti-trans voices, they should be taken off platforms like Twitch. They should be taken off platforms like YouTube, like Twitter, and shouldn't be allowed the privilege to speak to the populace through the medium of the internet. What are your thoughts on that, Destiny? And you guys can go back and forth afterward.
Do you want to lead, Soph, or do you want me to lead?
You can lead.
So generally, my stance on deplatforming is as follows. I don't care what kind of hate speech, whatever people do, but I do recognize that hate speech can lead to demonstrable harm to people. The only people that I'm interested in deplatforming are generally bad faith actors. So for instance, somebody like Nicholas Fuentes, I would generally be in favor of deplatforming because he hides his power level constantly. So he is very clearly, like, I don't know if he would be full alt-right. I think he is. Like, very clearly like a white nationalist, very clearly subscribes to...
What evidence do you have to back up such a claim with such gravity?
Yeah, here. So I'll send you my tweet recently, And then Ralph, I will send you a tweet. And if you want, we can play through these on stream. So here are 3 videos I've collected of Nicholas Fuentes, and this was like 2 minutes of searching. In the first one, he engages in history revisionism, where he says it's impossible that as many Jews were killed as they could have been in the ovens. In the second link, he dog whistles about race realism, where he talks about how black people are like pit bulls and, you know, they commit most of the crime. And then in the third question, he's caught off camera talking shit about how like fucking black people is the same as fucking dogs. They're both like degenerate activities. And this was in a response to a tweet that he made where he said he's not a white nationalist.
Can you post it into the show links? It's
I'll post it.
on shows. Okay.
Oh yeah, shit. I can't post it now, but I see it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
oh sorry.
Actually, I'll go ahead and give you where you can post in there too. If you have anything else you want to pull up, let me. You should be able to post there now.
Soph too.
Yeah, she already has it. Okay. So should we play these or?
I don't care if you want. I don't really care. I mean, I already know it's true.
Okay.
If you want to play, you can though. I mean, they're all pretty short if you want to, or you can like timestamp or whatever.
So they're timestamped already, then, right?
I don't think they're timestamped. Or well, but they're like 2-minute clips. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's the links. I'll go ahead and play it. You guys can play along. I'll start with Holocaust denial, I suppose. All right. Why not? Oh, goody. That's inappropriate or offensive to some audiences.
He doesn't say anything.
Yeah. Soph might not be able to do it.
Soph might have to log out of her YouTube account to watch it. Here's your backup. Use your throwaway account.
Damn it, Susan!
I clicked that I understand and wish to proceed and it does nothing. So...
But they know you're below 18. Maybe that's why they're not letting you watch it.
Well, the age on my account should be appropriate.
Okay. I'm not sure. It pops up for us. So if you just want to mute and listen off the stream. Okay. Or I mean off the, our stream. Okay, I'll go ahead and play it. I guess we're looking at some Nick Fuentes' past comments, and I mean it's kind of getting into where, well, we're talking about him. If he wants to pop on too, that's, I don't know, it's getting there. But okay, But it was the topic. You asked how he could make these accusations. This is what he's making the white nationalist accusation based off of. We'll play this right now. Oh shit! Now it's not.
Max says if I take 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies and Cookie Monster has 15 ovens, working 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years, how long does it take Cookie Monster to make 6 million batches of cookies? I don't know. That's a good question. Certainly, oh, no. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know, it certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million. Maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies. And I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies, and the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground. And so there's a lot of things. In the cookie kitchen, they say that the ovens are wooden and they have windows on them and they're not totally secure. And the ovens that they use, they actually did sort of an ad hoc use of that particular kind of oven, even though they made a perfectly good design for ovens for a different purpose, for delousing. I mean, for something else. So none of it really adds up. I don't know. It just kind of doesn't really make sense, this crazy cookie analogy. You have to be, that's sort of an esoteric story. That's from Cookie Right. You wouldn't understand that if you're just sort of passing through, if you're just a normie. So 6 million cookies, I don't buy it. That's all irony. I'm an irony bro. That's all irony. I love and respect everyone. Everything that the government says is true.
All right, there goes the first clip, a deep dive into...
So then if you're not familiar, if you couldn't catch on, it's obviously a dog whistle for... One common form of history revisionism is that people try to say, well, look, if we do the math, it's not even possible that so many people were killed in the concentration camps. Just do the math. It doesn't make sense, bro. It's a really common thing. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's always a possibility that's a joke. That's a joke. Have you clarified with him that that's actually what he believes?
So in order to figure out what any person is truly thinking, we have to engage in a process of inductive reasoning. We can't truly know, right? We have to make a guess based on the amount of evidence available. So if you ask him directly, he's always going to say no, of course. However, based on the totality of his body of work, he's made enough dog whistles that it's pretty obvious what's going on here.
Is that fair for him? Because I could do the same to you and say that, oh, you're a pedophile or something.
No, you really couldn't. If you wanted to do the same to me, you would have to intentionally misrepresent what I'm saying by taking like 1 or 2 clips out of context in order to do it. Again, the very issue that we started this debate with.
I think there's more than 1 or 2 clips.
No, you'll never. Well, maybe. I mean, you can make a lot of clips, but you're never going to find a conversation with me defending pedophilia. Like, I'm pretty big on like age of consent and consent-related things. That's why my 2-hour debate with Amos was me speaking in the affirmative for the age of consent. And every conversation I've had about it has reinforced that. You would have to be a dishonest actor in order to actually come away thinking I'm pro pedophilia or anything related to that.
Well, you're using, short clips to make your case for Nick.
I mean, this clip here is like the totality of this little analogy, and this is part of a larger body of work where he has like continued to denigrate like, things related to the Jewish question or the Jewish people.
Can I see that larger body of work?
The thing is, I don't think I could ever link you enough clips to convince somebody like you.
Oh, I see.
Well, so like, for instance, during our chat yesterday, multiple times he made references to the idea that white people are going to be bred out of existence. It's also a very common alt-right talking point. He would also relentlessly talk about people in Hollywood or people that control Hollywood, like Goldman Sachs, which is also a very common alt-right dog whistle to Jews controlling society. He also referenced people's strange allegiance to Israel, which is also another dog whistle. So like, truly, I can't know. It's possible that maybe at the end of the day, all of these things are jokes. But if I were to go with like any sort of like Bayesian analysis and try to figure out like, what is the probability that he's probably anti-Semitic versus these are all just memes, I would probably fall on the side of him actually being anti-Semitic.
Now, real quick, Destiny, I watched that debate, and I don't believe I've ever heard the words Goldman Sachs uttered within that debate.
If it wasn't it wasn't what?
Are you sure that he said Goldman Sachs, or did he say film executives?
No, it was either if he didn't say I'm pretty sure it was Goldman Sachs, or it was another big bank. I'm almost 99% positive it was Goldman Sachs. If somebody in my Twitch chat wants to, they can try to find the clip, but I'm like 99% positive it was Goldman Sachs.
So I just want to point out that all the things you mentioned don't necessarily make him a Nazi. They might make him affiliated with the alt-right, but it's not fair to deplatform him on suspicions.
Oh no, I deplatform because I think he's a bad faith actor, because he'll constantly dog whistle these views and then he'll like lie about it later, or he'll misrepresent it later, or he'll say he doesn't care about it later or whatever.
I don't think you can make assumptions like that.
I mean, then truly you can't make any assumptions about any person, right? You realize that, right?
Yeah, but when you make those assumptions, you use them to take him off the platform, and that's not fair to him.
Well, I don't use the assumptions to take him off the platform. The only reason why I don't like people like that platform is because I think bad faith actors don't contribute positively to public discourse. For instance, somebody like Richard Spencer, I hate using him as an example because I don't know him as well. Or sorry, go ahead, you can respond.
So anybody who doesn't like make a great contribution to public discourse doesn't deserve a right to their free speech?
No, I don't care about. Well, firstly, I'm talking about like major political figures or larger figures, not necessarily like a random person on Twitter. But secondly, no, I don't care if you make like a bad or a good contribution. That's a lot more vague. So like, for instance, if you're anti-Semitic, if you hate Jews or whatever, and you want to talk about that shit on Twitter, I'm fine with that. Knock yourself out. If you're a KKK dude, whatever, I don't give a fuck. It's when you start engaging in misinformation, or when you intentionally obscure your positions, or when you engage in like, like lying or deceit or bad data or whatever. That's the thing that bothers me, because I think all it does is it muddles the conversation. It doesn't help anybody or further any dialogue or discourse.
Well, what's the problem with it hanging around if everybody knows it's, false anyways?
Because not everybody knows it's false anyways. A lot of people are kind of like deceived by that type of stuff. It's very effective. It's why people like him do it.
I still don't think that's enough to take him off the platform. I think people still reserve their right to free speech, and it's the responsibility of those who participate in free speech to be well educated.
Okay, I mean, that could be your position, but I disagree with it. Would you follow that same position if, let's say hypothetically, so I can't prove this, but let's say that in a hypothetical world, I could demonstrate that if you allow bad faith actors to run amok, it actually does damage discourse to the point that people are making decisions that they wouldn't otherwise, that are either worse for society or worse for themselves, because they've been misled by somebody in a position of political power that is intentionally misleading people. Would you still be in favor of it then? Do you think it's okay?
Sorry, you cut out for me. What'd you say?
Let's say you have a politician that is intentionally lying about something. We'll say he's a bad faith actor. And let's say that in another world, I could show you this person is actually hurting society. People are making decisions and they wouldn't otherwise if they had access to the correct information. Do you think that somebody like this should be allowed to just spew misinformation from a platform, even if it's causing a demonstrable harm to society?
Yes. And who gets to decide what's misinformation?
I mean, there are ways that we could do that. That's a separate conversation. So if you say yes, then my question is, why do you value freedom of speech? What's so important about that particular value for you?
People should be able to express their beliefs, and what gives somebody else the right to sort of like use force to silence them? It's a thing. There's a difference between, I guess, the policies of companies, because that's the choice of the owners of them. But
yeah, sure, we're not talking about like legal or companies. We don't have to distinguish that right now. I'm just curious, like, why is freedom of speech an important thing to you? I understand that you're gonna, like, I know you said like, well, people should have freedom of speech, but why? I'm asking, why is freedom of speech so important?
Because it's important for everybody to get their ideas out there, and you start making, standards of who gets excluded. They might be expanded to exclude people who don't deserve that exclusion.
Okay, so let's say that some people wanted to go online and start talking about how to build like the perfect atomic bomb, and maybe 100 or 1,000 people could come together and kind of put those instructions out there, and then people figure it out, and then they build an atomic bomb and they destroy a city. Do you think speech like that should be protected?
Sure.
Okay. All right. I disagree. For me, foundationally, I think that everything should serve kind of like the common interest of people at the end of the day. I think that if something causes what?
Utilitarian?
That's the framework by which I view morality. Yeah, moral decisions is usually a consequentialist one. Some form of utilitarianism, sure. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, if something is causing a demonstrable harm to people, then that thing probably shouldn't be valued or cherished. Personally, I fall on the side of freedom of speech generally because I think that it's usually good, and I think that people being able to express themselves is good. But I mean, in cases where it's not good, then yeah, I would seek to limit that, of course, because I don't think freedom of speech is more important than people's happiness or the well-being of society.
I think that's where we differ, because I'm more deontological about that sort of thing. I think that people's rights should be protected as long as they're not infringing on anybody else's rights. So
you have a deontological protection of freedom of speech? You think that that in and of itself is virtuous and should be protected even if it leads to harm to other people?
Yes.
Do you think that we have a responsibility to keep other people from harm?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say, well, here
I wouldn't want somebody to be harmed, and if it's an actual violation of their property or their rights, then yeah, you need to intervene in that.
Okay, so here's a question: property or rights. Let's say that you have a friend. Okay, then let's say there are two other people. One of these people is giving instructions to a third party on how to kill your friend. Do you think that you could try to deplatform this person or stop this person through violent means, or do you think it would be against your kind of like deontological obligations to do so?
I would get the person that they're targeting armed and defended.
So are they allowed to take like preemptive action?
Especially the atomic bomb one is very unlikely.
Okay, well, sure. Well, let's go to real hypotheticals. Let's say that you have a group of people who are in the United States whose existence is threatened by a certain regime, okay? Let's say that these people were brought here as children, and let's say that through deferred action, they're able to remain in the United States if they register with the U.S. government. Let's say that there are people that advocate for the forced removal of these people from their country. Do you think these people have a right to defend themselves, or should they just accept the state violence as is?
They should defend themselves if they are attacked.
Okay, so then do you think that like Hispanic children in this country that are here under DACA have a right to take up arms and fight against like the U.S. government or people on the right? Because that's a pretty extreme position.
Well, I think if it's all about if they're actually like being physically harmed, and I think it's a problem with the state, because depends on if the property that they're on they have a right to be there.
Okay, so then their individual freedoms or rights are subservient to property rights, or how does that work?
Like, okay, so how did they get there?
They were brought here at an early age by their parents.
Okay, and did their parents ask for permission to go on the property that they're residing in?
No, the parents didn't.
Okay, then they don't belong there.
Okay, so you think that if somebody is facing potential removal from this country via something like DACA, because that's being revoked, that person has no right to defend themselves. They just have to accept that consequence?
Well, It all depends on if they have a right to be on that property.
Okay,
Before,
let's say...
I don't. The hypothetical wasn't clear before.
Sure. Well, it's not hypothetical. This is DACA in America today. Let's say that a Native American would approach you with his tribe and he wanted to remove you from the United States. Do you think he has a right to do that?
A Native American approaches me and he wants to remove me
Yeah.
from the United States.
Because he believes that you're in the United States against any previous like Native American authority.
Well, the problem with that is I don't know if there's good records on Native American like property holdings.
I mean, I think there's pretty safe records that we came here from Europe and we weren't here before then. And we took the land from the Native Americans.
I know that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that who owned what was not clear.
Okay. I mean, I guess philosophically, I'm against the position of removing people from a country using state-sanctioned violence who aren't here through any fault of their own. I feel like that's a pretty bad position to take, and I feel like you can justify...
Well, not state-sanctioned violence, because I don't believe in I don't believe in the state's coercion. Now, the thing with the children is, like, they can ask it's not all up to their parents. They can ask whose person property that they're on. If they can be there.
Well, they already did. That's what.
They have to
well,
go.
they already did. That's what DACA was for. It gave them a way to be here, right? They were registered with the government. They paid taxes. They were given a tax ID, and they weren't allowed to commit any crimes and still remain registered with the government.
Okay, but whose property are they on?
They're on the U.S.'s property with permission from the United States via DACA.
Are they on public property or are they on private property? Like public property, as in funded by taxpayers, or?
Well, they're probably generally on private property.
Okay, so if the house was bought by their parents, then they have a right to be there. This is not very clear.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, then, would you say that people who exist under DACA have a right to take up arms or kill conservatives if they feel like that they're going to use state-sanctioned violence to remove them from their private property and deport them from the country?
If they're approached with physical force, then yeah, they should defend themselves. If it's on private property that they own, they cannot be evicted from it because they own it.
Okay, cool. I mean, I think we're pretty much in agreement then. Well, I don't know if I would go that far. That's a really extreme position.
Let me ask something. Hold on, wait, Flamingo. Hold on, let me ask something. So, they're allowed to stay on that private property, but are they allowed to venture out into public property and use public, infrastructure and stuff like that, or should they just stay on that private piece of property?
They need whoever funded the approval of whoever funded that public property.
Which would be them, right? Because they're all taxpayers, so.
Well, yeah, partially them, but they need approval of the others to be in that community and venture out on.
Wait, that's not how all private property works. Private property doesn't require unanimous approval from people or public property doesn't require unanimous approval from every taxpayer for people to go on it.
Well, are they fund? Oh, okay. If they're funding it with their tax money, then then they can be there.
Also, real quick, I think it's also important to note that Destiny is talking about whether or not DACA recipients would be allowed to, or would be justified in engaging in violence against people who are advocating for the enforcement of immigration laws that would see them deported. I think that's
well, not the enforcement of immigration laws, the repeal of an immigration law that protects them.
It's not an immigration law. DACA is not an immigration law. It's a program.
It was an executive.
It was an executive order. It was an executive order that protected their existence here. It gave them.
Okay, it's not. There's a very clear difference.
It wasn't passed.
Wait. What do you mean by it's a clear difference? Are you not? Are you not recognizing the authority of executive action?
Okay, which body passes an executive order?
The president.
The executive or the legislative? Okay, does it go through Congress?
No.
Okay. Do you see how that maybe if a president couldn't get his way in Congress, went around Congress, and signed an executive order that might not be valid?
Obama himself said he didn't have the right to do DACA before he did it. It's a kind of a controversial thing. It's been.
I'm sorry. Is this controversial or is it settled law in the Supreme Court?
Real quick, though, I didn't want to interject on this. I just wanted to clear up the language in case it was confusing because Soph was talking about private property that they may have purchased.
Okay, sure. Themselves. Yeah, I mean, we can clear up the language. So the language, very clearly, the president has certain powers delegated to him. President Obama exercised this for DACA. Now, personally, do I think executive actions have gone a little bit far? Absolutely. But, I mean, the Supreme Court has recognized it as being valid. They refused to hear appeals from Trump about it. They took no action on it. So, I mean, it's settled. It is law. I mean, whether you don't like the fact that it came from the president versus Congress or whatever, or if you would call it a law, I mean, it's something that is delegated by the president, and it is what it is.
Can I ask you a question then? Yeah. Do you agree with President Trump's executive order to fund the border wall?
No, I don't.
Even though Congress approved border wall funding?
Wait,
he had more of a legislative mandate than Obama did to pass DACA, and you're defending DACA.
No, I don't think that Congress approving border funding is the same as Trump threatening to take the military to the border to build his wall. I think these are two very different things.
No, he's not. It's not the military. He's using military funding, discretionary military funding for the state of emergency, which he is delegated by Congress to allow him to do.
Oh, well, I mean, if that's something, if that survives, no, I agree. I'm not going to argue. I agree.
What I'm saying, okay.
Yeah. If the Supreme Court settles it, I don't know if that's something that'll go through the Supreme Court, but if the Supreme Court settles it, then yeah, then say, yeah, it's legal. I would disagree with the act itself, but yeah, I mean, if it's legal, it's legal.
Okay.
All right, let me.
Sorry for derailing that. I just wanted to.
No, it's okay. Let me read some of these,
things.
and we'll get to another topic. Colonel J says, "Oh God, hold on a sec. Hold on one second. Flamenco, toss it to another question because my computer is literally about to cut out. So go ahead and talk for a sec."
All right. So with now that you know that he's specifically talking about deportation, Soph, do you believe that the federal government has a right to deport non-citizens?
I don't believe. We have to talk about this as if the state weren't involved.
Mm-hmm. Well, the state does deportations. That's the reason why I bring it up.
Yeah, So.
Yes. Okay.
But I don't believe in the state. We have to talk about just private and public property, and what property is up to the taxpayers and what is private property, and the logistics of that.
All right, fair enough. Do you have the super chats ready?
Yeah, I'm on my laptop, and I thought I had enough battery to just do the show without plugging it in, and that final warning came up, and it was about to just completely kill the whole stream, so I had to kind of go to the other room, grab the charger. Okay, Colonel J says, "Who let this Keebler elf outside the treehouse?" Synac 8 says, "Destiny, you said the same thing about all conservatives wanting to force them to be deported or throw them into camps." Do you have a comment on that, Destiny?
I mean, I've said some things like I've said some things on hyperbole like that, but I generally immediately follow it up with this is probably not a good idea. Or in a video game, I'll say some dumb shit like that. Like I said, I have a greater body of work that I can appeal to that it makes it pretty clear that I'm not usually in favor of killing larger groups of people. I don't think the same can be said about somebody like Nick Fuentes.
Right.
However, if I was
called for somebody's death.
Wait, what?
Has Nick Fuentes ever called for anyone's death?
Not in explicit language. To be clear, though, if I had to defend the proposition that conservatives could be forcibly removed from the U.S. with violence, I do think I would defend that argument, though. Even though I don't necessarily make it a lot, I think that there are defenses for that. I think Noam Chomsky said the Republican Party is the biggest threat to security in the West right now, and I actually do share that agreement. So I probably would make that defense. But I mean, obviously, the pragmatic side of that is really fucking bloody. So.
Victor Phantasm says, "When is Destiny going to pay that money? Yo, he was caught saying the not N-word." I don't know what that's in reference to. I mean, I know.
I think he was talking about yachts.
Oh, there are, for some reason, a lot of people say that I got famous in StarCraft 2 saying the N-word all the time, and I asked somebody if you could produce a picture of me saying the N-word while as an insult while playing a StarCraft 2 game. I would be shocked because I didn't do this, and I think I offered $1,000 something that could. I think the only time I've ever done it is I've used the soft A a couple times, clearly as a meme, and then I think I did it once in a game where I was referring to the guy I was playing against his teammate got fired from a team, but I just haven't called people the N-word, not because I'm a good person or anything, but because it's just not part of what RTS players said. If I was an FPS player, I probably would have said it a lot because they tend to more.
All right. B Tim says, "Oh, go ahead, Soph. Go ahead."
I have a question for Bonnell.
Sure.
So if I said this is probably not a good idea after those Discord logs, it would have been okay.
I mean, if you walked it back afterwards, okay, yeah, I mean, it would definitely change the way that I would view it. Sure.
If I walked it back and said, "Oh, I don't actually mean any of this," whatever.
Yeah, something like that. But and then it would also depend on your larger body of work too. I haven't watched very many of your YouTube videos, but if all of your YouTube videos are constantly attacking Muslims, then I probably wouldn't be as likely to believe it. Yeah.
Well, so do you think what I did was okay or not?
In this political climate right now, no. I think that attacking certain minority groups, I think, is pretty scary. I don't think it's a good idea to do it right now. I would argue if you're a public figure that you have a responsibility not to engage in that type of behavior.
I just don't see that because it just seems hypocritical to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're claiming it's the political climate, but you saying kill all conservatives. I just see that as the same general statement, general attack.
Sure. So the difference that I guess progressives would call between attacking certain groups of people is that there are certain groups of people that society sees as vulnerable, and there are certain groups of people that society does not see as vulnerable. So, for instance, I'm not really comfortable making jokes about, say, women, because women's position in society, in some cases, can be threatened. Whereas for men, you're never going to be in trouble for being a man. Being a man is never
Oh, really?
Generally, yeah, except for some very fringe cases. So, for instance, we'll say like things related to child custody suits, like that can be kind of scary. Maybe rape-related stuff, although that gets into the weeds a little bit.
You can be drafted for the military and die.
You kind of. Men sign up for selective services. We don't have a draft in place right now, though. I do agree with you that women should sign up for the selective services, but right now in the United States, it's a full volunteer military. We don't have a draft right now. If there was a draft, though, and the draft was only on men, that would be really fucked up, I think. That would be really bad. I would agree with that. Although to be fair, I try not to like insult like broad groups of people based on characteristics they have no control over. So I try not to make fun of like all white people or all men or whatever. But I do think that the arguments
Yeah, but you have.
Yeah, I probably have. I try not to, but I probably have. But so justifying it, right? Like the justification is generally that like larger majority power holder groups aren't usually threatened by this type of humor or these types of jokes because bad acts aren't usually happening towards them, or there isn't like institution.
Yeah, but conservatives are being attacked.
In an institutional way, probably not. But I want to draw a difference between like conservative.
What about that guy that shot up
way.
the Republican baseball game? That seemed like a pretty big attack there.
Yeah.
If stuff like that was happening a lot, that would probably be pretty bad. But real quick, I want to draw.
It is happening a lot.
I don't think it's happening as much as right on left violence, or at least not according to what I've seen, at least in the United States. I know we don't like to cite the ADL here. If somebody has contrary evidence, you can shoot me something different. But I think there's a difference between political positions versus like intrinsic parts of your character.
Are you talking about the
well,
ADL?
Muslims, Islam is a choice.
What?
Religion is a choice.
Maybe, I don't know. That's a really tough one. I'm not sure.
Wait, it's literally a choice.
Depending on the society or the community that you're born into, it could be really. I think you can make really strong arguments that like Islam can be a very cultural thing depending on where you're from. For instance, if you're like in certain parts of Saudi Arabia, it would be pretty hard to be like, oh, I'm an atheist, you know, like.
Yeah, because you're gonna be killed. If you're a child or a woman, you're pretty much being held captive. But
for certain oppressive religious groups, yeah, I would probably agree with that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
In Middle Eastern countries. But generally in our countries, it is a choice.
Yeah, maybe. I have a really hard one with that. Like for instance, like speaking English, is that a choice?
You grow up with it.
Exactly, right? Like,
but you can learn another language.
You could, but like you generally are going to stick with the language that you're born with because it's like so heavily like a part of like everything that centers around you. I don't know if I would necessarily say like political positions are the same way. I mean, in some way you grow up inheriting political positions, but you can make a lot of choices to change these without like a substantial amount of like dedicating parts of your life to learn something different. Like you would say another language or completely abandoning and joining another religion, which for some people is almost impossible, right? Because you're basically shedding your entire community and maybe sometimes even your family to join another one.
I think it's because a language, you have to learn a whole other language if you want to, I guess, leave English. But with Islam, you can just leave Islam and become an atheist. That might be, complicated with your community and such, but it's definitely a lot easier, and it's definitely still a choice.
I would actually argue the contrary. I think that's a bit of a naive analysis of the situation. If I wanted to learn a second language, I don't have to actually lose any of my English friends. In fact, I could actually even hide the fact that I know a second language. I could learn Spanish in secret if I wanted to, or I could learn Spanish and then still practice English as much as I want. Depending on how radical either the sect of Islam you're part of or the denomination of Christianity you're part of is, it's not really possible to be an atheist and hold on to that old community or those old friends. You can't go to church every Sunday. You can't go to like the church groups, on the weekends. You can't hang out with your family members. Like you could have to excise quite a bit out of your life in order to change religions. I don't think it's the same with changing a language.
I still think it's a choice.
But it's still a choice, though, right?
But in that case, like literally everything is a choice.
It's an ideology.
I mean, you're choosing to stay in it, right?
But it's a little bit reductionist to say like that's a choice. Like, I mean, technically, all of you right now are choosing to be poor because you could go invest all of your money in the right options and then become billionaires overnight. Like, I mean, is that really like a choice? Like, I don't know.
I think it's much harder to suddenly become a billionaire than to unsubscribe from an ideology.
I mean, you say that, but for some people, and I mean, like, I can't speak to the people in this call. I don't give a fuck. I left my religion, but that's because I don't give a fuck about any of my family. But if you're somebody that's very close to your family, if you live with your family especially, or if you get support from them financially, it can be really hard to just say, sorry, mom and dad, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not part of this religion. What if you rely on them for funding for college? What if you like to see your family on the weekends? What if you've got siblings that you're not going to be able to talk to? What about your community that you've had at either your mosque or your church or your synagogue? These can be really hard things for people to just walk away from.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying
And
it
to
would
be
be an easy choice, but it's still
Yeah,
a
it's not.
choice. Though, right?
Yeah, it's not. None of us said that it was easy.
Well,
Well,
sure,
and-
but if it's a
and to-
difficult
and to be-
choice, then probabilistically speaking, people aren't going to make it. If it's a very, very hard choice to make,
That's-
I'm not going to fault somebody for not walking away. Like, I try not to demonize people. I used to when I was a younger, edgy fucking atheist, but I try not to demonize people for being Christian, because walking away from your religion when it's such an integrated part of your life, that's a really fucking hard thing to do.
And to be fair to Destiny, as a person who was not very growing up as a regular devout member of his church now, I could also say that arguing it comes from a spiritual place, it's very hard to say is a choice or anything, just as a person who is on the opposite end.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still a choice, though. Like,
Yeah.
The reason why that language obfuscates the conversation is because when you say it's a choice, you make it sound like it's 50-50, right? That's why I use the stock thing. Like, technically, you're making the choice right now to not buy the right stock, but you're obviously saying, well, that's ridiculous. It would be like a 1% chance that I would choose the right one. But I'm trying to say it's the same for religion. Like, the chances that somebody would make that choice, that's a very low chance. It's not just like a 50-50 thing, like, oh, well, I'll either leave it or I won't. It's like, I have to take into account how much of my life am I ready to throw away as a result of walking away from my culture, right? Which is what religion ends up being.
Couldn't you make the same argument for like growing up conservative?
To some extent, yeah, you could. If you're like super buried in like a rural community, the only difference I draw between political ideologies and religious ones, but I will extend this to religion ones, is when your ideology starts to influence the way you treat other people. So for instance, personally, I don't like any religion. I'm a very hardline atheist, but if you practice it in your community or blah, 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 that's fine. But as soon as, like, let's say that you're a Muslim and you want to start enacting some fucking Sharia bullshit law, like for non-Muslims, nope, fuck you. That's not going to happen. Or if you're a Christian and you want to hang the fucking 10 Commandments in a courthouse, nope, sorry, fuck you, we're not doing that shit. So if you want to practice your religion personally, that's okay. Political beliefs are oftentimes not really practiced personally because you go out and vote, and your vote can lead to demonstrable harm to people, such as DACA people being forcibly removed from the country.
Well, to be fair though, like your identity and part of your religion is what influences your political decisions.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I guess maybe you could argue that it's arbitrary where I draw the line. But like, as soon as you enter a voting booth and you start making decisions in the polls that are actively harming other people in your country, and I'm a person that believes that everyone in your country should be protected, and even people outside of your country should be protected, I think you share some responsibility there for that harm that you do to other people. If you're just worshiping in your own town or privately or whatever, and you do that shit, I mean, arguably there might be some harm that comes from that, but I'm a lot more lenient on that. Like, if you keep that shit to yourself.
all right. I'm not the leave English thing. I think I was muted, but I was dying whenever you said that. So, but anyway, go ahead, stuff. Yeah.
I just want to say that we're not like, yeah, it's a difficult choice. Like, being not a Nazi in Nazi Germany was hard. Like, being not a communist in, Soviet Russia was hard, but it was still like a choice you had to make. And like,
well, like,
wrong is still
I don't
wrong.
fault people that were Nazis in Nazi Germany. Fuck, dude. I probably would have fucking been a Nazi in Nazi Germany. Like, let's be real. Most of us in here would have been Nazis in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
Like, push comes to shove. I don't know if I'm going to say, like, yeah, fuck it, I'm going to sacrifice my whole fucking family behind some moral truth that I believe in, being an a-religious person, right? I don't know if I'm going to fucking do that. But being a Nazi today, in today's world, I think it's pretty easy to not be a Nazi in 2019. I wouldn't compare the Nazis of today undergoing the same pressures as the Nazis in, like, literal Nazi Germany, where you might be killed if you don't fall in line with that political party at the time.
All right, you got anything else, Soph? You want to raise something else on that score?
Well, I still think it's a choice. So.
All right. Let's see. B-Tim says, Destiny, you talk way too fast. I don't know what you're saying because you are talking too fast. I would guess you are talking 250 words per minute. Sean William George Buck gave $5, didn't say anything. Razia133 no says, do not shield Soph. Destiny versus Soph. Onion Wizard says, being targeted does not give anyone a pass ever. Synac8 says, what about all those kids with fully automatic smirks? The left try to ruin their reputation by making them look racist or
Well, yeah, that's a good example of that. They're getting targeted as well. To say that they're not a targeted group is I feel like
when people start to become targeted groups, I think it's really bad. I was always against that. I mean, I don't really have a Twitter log, but like targeting a group of fucking high schoolers for their political beliefs was real fucking stupid. I agree with that. I'm very uncomfortable with the idea of bullying or harassing somebody who's in fucking high school over their political beliefs, except for you, I guess, because we're having this conversation. But like, that wasn't supposed to, I'm sorry, I'm not like a 10-year age, but like in general, like, I mean, like, you'll know this. I'm sure that you're a lot different now than you were when you were 10, and you'll be a lot different when you're 18. The idea of attacking a 16-year-old over their political belief is real fucking stupid. And anybody that got like hung up on that is pretty fucking dumb.
All right. Now, what about now? This was another topic I had that kind of came up to me while you guys were speaking earlier. What about using violence against quote unquote Nazis? Even if you say they're a real Nazi, you agree to that? Is it okay to just walk up and crack them in the head with a bat or something like that?
So what I would say. So I don't engage in this personally, but the thing is, I don't belong to any classes that are ever threatened in the U.S., right? As a white person, as a male, as a straight person, like I'm never really like targeted. As a wealthy person, like there aren't like systemic things that fuck with me. So I don't know if I personally would be drawn to violence because none of these things really threaten me. But let's say that the existence of you in a country is actively threatened by the existence of another political group. I mean, I think that person could make a strong argument, a strong moral argument for having the moral righteousness on their side to like take violent action against these groups of people preemptively. Yeah, sure. I think most people would agree.
Yeah, but not
with
those people. I'm asking you, and I'll let Soph jump in too on this. But I mean, is it okay?
I mean, when you say okay, that's just like so. But I think it could be. Yeah, I think that most people. I think I would argue for it. Yeah.
Would it be or is it?
Yeah, just like.
Well, when you ask me if something's okay, you're asking me with respect to some particular moral framework. I'll say yes. Yeah, it's okay. Sure. Yes.
Okay. Can I ask you a quick question?
Wait, let's
go for it.
Hold on. I'll let you get in a minute. Let's Soph, go ahead.
How can you defend that unless they were physically aggressed against first? If they haven't actually done anything to violate your personal space, you can't justify taking preemptive action on them on suspicions that they want to remove you.
Yeah, so maybe this is like a consequential thing, but like the waiting for the moment for them to do it is absolutely nothing. I mean, as a gun owner, I know that this is dumb, right? If I know that if somebody is like walks across the room, they pick up a Glock, they load a bullet into the mag, they slap the mag into the gun.
If they're actually lunging at you, then yeah, you can take, action, but then the action of them just being a Nazi is not enough.
Well, I think it could be. I mean, we could back up that analogy several steps, but if somebody is a Nazi, they're going to be advocating for political reform that is a direct threat to your existence in the particular state that you live in. I think that you could justify some form of political violence against these people. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Destiny? What's your threshold that would justify this preemptive violence?
I usually look at like people that have like political effectiveness. So people that are like rallying for certain political figures, if they've got like political representation, or if they rally for ideas that they vote for that represent a harm to you as people, I think that there are justifications there for you to take action against them.
I have a question to expound upon that. Do you believe that Soph falls into these classifications? Because I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that people in your Twitch chat are saying that she's a Nazi. Would you condone preemptive violence against her?
Okay, that sounds really bad. I'm trying to sound insulting because it sounds really insulting, but I'm not trying to say this. But like, I'm very, very uncomfortable viciously attacking young people for their political beliefs, right? Like if a 15-year-old were to come up to me and say, I'm a Nazi and I hate black people, blah, blah, blah. It's like, fuck, dude, like you're 15. Like, I'm not going to sit here and like hold you. Like, I'm uncomfortable when the U.S. tries adolescent people as adults for murder. I don't even know if that's right. Like a 15, 16-year-old could be tried for murder as an adult. Like, I don't know. So like the idea that you would enact violence on like young groups of people that are minors, at least insofar as the U.S. is concerned, I don't think that's right. Like these people aren't even voting yet,
If Soph was 18 years old, would you?
Yeah, then it's fair game. Sure.
That?
Yeah, once you reach the age of voting, the age of majority.
Wait, hold up. Hold up.
Yeah, look, go ahead. Go ahead, Soph.
So, if I were 18 and I'm still me and I have my current beliefs, you think it would be okay to enact violence against me?
I'm sorry. This was under the assumption that you're actually like a Nazi. I don't know what your beliefs are. I haven't watched enough of your YouTube videos.
I'm not a Nazi.
Okay, sure. I would say that based on what I've seen, there's a high probability that I would probably say violence is justified. Yeah, if I'm being honest based on what I've seen. But I could be wrong. I haven't watched enough. I really don't know. But
okay.
So,
you got a response? Go ahead. Yeah.
Could Nick Fuentes be a target?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you could punch him.
I think it could be morally.
Directly claim that he hates Jews or that he wants to expel black people from the country.
I mean, I think you can inductively reason out pretty easily what his position is. So yeah, I think
he's never directly claimed that.
Yeah, of course, because that's how they shield themselves from it. You never directly claim it. That's the whole point of that sort of movement, right?
Yeah, but what if you incorrectly assume somebody's positions based on that sort of line of reasoning?
Then you would make a mistake, and that would be a fuck up.
Yeah, that could likely happen when you're making these assumptions about Nick Fuentes.
I mean, it would depend on the totality of evidence you have available to you to inductively reason out what they think. With Nick, it's a pretty easy shot. I'm not going to look at... What?
I don't think it is.
I mean, you might I mean, if you want, I could spend tonight like gathering videos and we could come back tomorrow with 100 clips to watch, although I don't know if you'd ever be fully convinced. But like to give some credence to your side, if I see somebody making like the OK symbol in public, I don't think I can walk up to that person and like crack them over the head with a bat. That's like that. We're way, way, way far away at that point, right? Or people like, you know, a lot of like the dumb centrists that get caught in with like, oh, well, this isn't like crypto fascism. This is just like OK symbol and whatever other Pepe the Frog. Like, I don't think you could attack these types of people. But for somebody like Nick Fuentes is way, way, way over the line into things like white nationalism or neo-Nazism.
So you could just pistol whip Nick Fuentes.
I mean, I think I personally wouldn't, because I don't want to fucking deal with the legal system and all that shit. Fuck that. But I think it could be justified, yeah.
Just because he says things that are reminiscent of alt-right things does not make him...
Well, no, because he actively advocates on his platform for white nationalist beliefs that would directly lead to the harm of people that... Yes.
Because you said he was dog whistling only.
Which is a way of advocating for your political beliefs and bringing people over, yeah. Like Lauren Southern does the same, sure.
I don't think it matters how much evidence you have against him. I don't think it ever justifies you to have violence against him just by him saying something.
Okay, well, I mean, that's where we disagree. I mean, I would say that if you're a person in the United States and I think that your existence is threatened by certain groups of people, I think you have every right to defend yourself.
So real quick then, you just said that you would be very uncomfortable with anybody this was part of a targeted group. You do realize that there are people who actively talk about engaging in preemptive violence against people that you're calling her, right? If she was 18, that there are people within your circles that would do this. You do realize this, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry. So I mean, I should clarify. I kind of thought it was obvious, but like obviously, I'm uncomfortable with calls to violence that are unjustified, that I don't see as being morally justified. So, for instance, if somebody says they want to do a call to violence for all murderers or something, like obviously, I'm okay with that. Even though I say like I'm not generally justified with like bullying targeted groups of people. I'm talking about like targeted groups of people that have a trait that doesn't necessarily make them worthy of targeting. If you want to target like terrorists, well, I'm probably okay with that, right?
Yeah, but the question I ask is because you have a very hard time giving a set of criteria in which you would say that this person is definitively blank, but you're also saying that it's okay for people to actively talk against violence about these people and that they could be targeted, right?
All right, let me read these super chats and we'll get back. We'll take some callers here.
Yeah, you're setting a standard of things people say, clips of them saying something justifies violence that can easily go wrong and end up with a lot of people getting beat up for no reason because some shit was made up about them that everybody believed and said, okay, I guess we can go punch him because he's a Nazi or something.
Holy shit. Actually, I agree with you 100%. So I think we should deplatform bad faith actors that spread misinformation about people. For instance, a lot of people on the left will call some fucking dude a Nazi for no fucking reason because they made an okay symbol. I think those types of people should be deplatformed. If somebody's going to make accusations that somebody is showing the tendencies of being a Nazi, they should actually present evidence to do so. And when they fail to do so, those people should be deplatformed. So yes, I am of the mindset that you could enact violence against groups of people that do hold views that are a direct threat to the existence of certain groups of people. But I also think there should be a responsibility to make sure that you're accurately conveying those views publicly, because like you said, I wouldn't want people to be misled into thinking something that's not true.
So do you think you're misleading people into believing that Nick Fuentes is a Nazi?
No, I think I'm very accurate in that assessment.
And, who says that your judgment is absolute? Like,
what do you mean, like in regards to the absolute frame of reference of the universe? Or, I mean...
No, to him being a Nazi, like...
I mean, in terms of him believing in like the Jewish question or the Jewish conspiracy theories, in regards to him.
How do you know he believes in that?
Because he constantly dog whistles it, and he talks about how Jews are breeding out white people and destroying society, or making references to those conspiracy theories constantly.
He's not.
For you, you're basically saying unless he comes out and literally says, I am a Nazi, it's not going to be enough for you. But in the real world, that's just not how people reason out their positions. You have to be a lot more nuanced than that.
So
I don't think any number of controversial clips can justify you to, punch somebody for their beliefs if they didn't actually aggress against you in the first place.
I mean, that's easy for you to say, but if you're somebody in the United States whose existence is threatened by these groups of people, you might feel a lot differently, right? For instance, if you're a transgender person and you're part of, you would be part of the class of people that get targeted by like Jordan Peterson fanboys all the time, right? The ability for you to exist in a state in the United States where you can either pursue surgery to remedy your problems or where you can exist without feeling constantly threatened, these types of people would say, well, fuck, I'm already aggressed on. The idea that I can't do anything against these people because they haven't done anything yet. That's already not true. These people are constantly advocating against my existence. These people are constantly hampering my ability to seek treatments in order to help me.
That might be people might be advocating against their existence, but it's not actually doing anything. No trans
Except it
people are being
is.
deported
In the
for
United
being trans.
Not deported, but they might be prevented from seeking medical treatment. In the United States, there are still a lot of bars for things like sex reassignment surgery or hormone therapy that some people argue are much higher than other sorts of psychiatric remedy for their problems. So I mean, like, or psychopharmaceutical as well. So I mean, there are people that would argue that right now their existence is being threatened, or people that block the ability for them to have equal protections as a protected class. Look how many people got upset about C-16 in Canada. How many people got upset about the New York laws that protect trans people?
Yeah, because that protects free speech. You can't compel speech like that because it's an ideological thing. It depends on if you believe in, transgenderism.
Well, do you believe in hiring people based on their race? Because in the United States, race is a protected class. You're not allowed to discriminate against hiring black or white people. These are things that we've decided in the U.S.
What exactly are you asking?
Sorry, so like in the United States, I'm using New York City as an example. New York City passed a law that said that transgender peoples fall under the same class of protections as homosexual peoples, or persons, I should say. So like a lot of people are against this type of thing, even though transgender people would like it to protect them from being harassed at a job due to the fact that they're transgender. People don't want to be harassed on that ground.
So harassed or not be able to be employed.
I mean, those can be one and the same. Nobody wants to work for somebody that can harass them on the basis of their existence constantly.
My position on that is it's up to employers to decide who they want to employ. You can't regulate discrimination laws in that way and compel them to employ people they don't want to employ because it's their business and it's their money.
I mean, I guess if that's your position, but I mean, like, would you be okay right now if YouTube killed your channel because they didn't want female content creators?
Yes, because that's their choice. It's their company. They get, they decide what to do with it.
Okay. I mean, you're okay then with every single white person that's been deplatformed across Facebook and Twitter and everything then too, right?
Well, ultimately, I don't want it to happen, but technically I'm okay with it. Like, I don't want it to happen, but I think it can happen if that's what Twitter wants to do with their platform or Facebook wants to do with their platform.
Well, for things that we don't want to happen, if we think that these things shouldn't happen, don't we usually, like, aspire to make laws to prevent them from happening?
No, I'm talking about, the delineation between what I personally think and what I think, people should have the freedom to do. When it comes to Twitter and Facebook, they have the freedom to do whatever they want with their company. Personally, I wouldn't like them to do certain things, but I'm not going to prevent them from doing that because it's their freedom. I have no right to infringe on, who they decide to platform and deplatform.
Okay. I mean, if that's your position, it just feels really weird to talk about, like, I don't think companies should do this thing, but I also want companies to be able to do this thing. That just seems like a weird position for me, I guess.
Well, what do you mean? Like,
I don't want Twitter to deplatform white people, but I think they should be able to deplatform white people. It just seems kind of weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's their freedom. Like, I don't want somebody to create a community where they only let in white people, but they're technically allowed to do that if they want to do that because free association or something like that.
Okay.
All right, let me read these. I am way behind. I'm going to read a bunch right now. The Vile Delinquent says, is he saying colleges ain't against the right? Is that what you were saying?
I mean, reality tends to have a liberal bias. That's the saying, right? It's really hard to be educated and be a conservative or Republican in the United States today. I mean, I can't help the Republicans with that. Real quick, can I just say something real quick? Dizzy in your chat said, Destiny has claimed violence is okay against white nationalists. Ask him if he's in favor of violence against black nationalists. When he says no, ask why. If you're a black... I used to fight with these people a lot on Twitter. If you're like a nationalist of any certain like ethnic creed that's like advocating for the removal of anybody else, then yeah, of course you can justify violence against them. I think black nationalists can fall under this if you're that type of group. Sure. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Fair enough.
I just wanted to ask in regard to the previous argument, like, do you think that if it's inconvenient to you, you don't personally believe in it, that you get the right to infringe on other people's freedoms?
I mean, so because of the way that I view morality, I don't hold like a freedom to be like a deontological good. Like a freedom in and of itself is virtuous. A freedom is only good insofar as it serves society. So if we talk about people's free ability to associate with people, I don't think it's good for society if business owners can discriminate against people on the basis of like religion or ethnicity. So I wouldn't protect that freedom in that case. I don't think it would be good for a city to say like, well, we don't want to hire any black people to work here. I don't think that's a good thing.
Just because you don't think it's a good thing to society, what gives you the right to, control and regulate their decisions over their private property?
It depends on how deep that question is. I mean, theoretically, I don't believe that rights exist. I don't know if anybody gives you that right. I mean, I guess you could say it in another way, it comes from God or from natural law or some shit. But I mean, like,
So
as a
do you
what?
believe in property?
I mean, I believe that it exists. What do you mean?
Do you think people can like own land and own things and own companies and that sort of thing?
I mean, insofar as you can get a deed that says that you own something, or you work, or other people recognize your ownership of that thing, right? That's the
So do
most
you think it
important.
can be like destroyed at any time or appropriated for the use of society?
I mean, it can be, or it should be, or like it would be a good thing for it to happen.
Yeah, it would be a good thing. It would be justifiable.
Generally, it doesn't seem like that's worked in the past. I mean, I'm personally a big capitalist. I'm a big fan of private property, so I don't like the idea of the government like seizing things, like Trump would have to do, for instance, to build that big wall along the southern border. So no, I'm not generally in favor of that type of like seizure of assets in order to nationalize an industry or something. Generally, no, unless there's a really good reason for it. I think you can make arguments for it, like say around like ISPs in the United States, maybe that maybe those things should be public utilities because of the natural monopolies that exist there. But generally, no, I'm not in favor of that.
How is it not? How can you make those exceptions just
Um,
because they're convenient?
I mean, convenient is one way to say it, but serves like the public good. It would be the greater way I would say it. So, like for instance, like I believe that markets exist and that markets are real, and that's why I'm a big capitalist. I like to analyze the way that, or I don't do this, but academics analyze the way the businesses operate in certain markets. Blah 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 blah. Sometimes there are things called market failures. So, for whatever reason, a market doesn't function in a way that we want it to. One reason this can happen is because a monopoly exists. So, only one firm is able to operate in any given city for a variety of reasons. For ISPs, that reason is there is a massive financial barrier to entry for a market. If you're an ISP and you're established somewhere, you can fuck over all the customers you want because nobody's going to compete with you in that market. Same thing with like your public utilities. People don't have the money to run 57 different sets of pipes all around the city, so you kind of rely on one geographic monopoly that kind of has to be controlled by the public because otherwise one private company can fuck you over, and they have no accountability since you don't vote on their people like you do with public actors.
Okay, well that was a long tirade, but I don't think that can I don't think property can be infringed on for supposed public good because it's subjective what is good for society, and I think it's a dangerous thing to infringe on that, and I don't think can be done and justified.
Sure. So let me ask you a question. This is kind of hypothetical, kind of real world. Let's say that you have one ISP in your city. Let's say that ISP could probably charge you $100 a month for internet, and they'd make fine money and they'd be okay. But let's say they charge you $900 a month for internet because in order for somebody new to come in and lay all the infrastructure to set up internet, they'd have to charge you $1,000 a month to break even. So the ISP that exists there now, that's a private company, they're going to charge you $900 a month, knowing that nobody else can come in and compete, but also knowing that they're fucking you over hardcore and you have no recourse. Do you think that kind of situation should just be left alone, or?
Technically yes, but I don't think I would allow that thing to happen. There would be probably communities that would protect against a monopolistic sort of thing like that by having their own, businesses of their own where monopolies can't just intrude and jack up the prices.
Well, so some communities actually do rally against this by voting to publicly fund their own internet infrastructure. That's actually happened in communities across the U.S. before.
Well, if they agree on doing that and they, voluntarily donate to support that thing, then that would be fine.
Okay. Do you consider like voting for an increase in your taxes to fund that if everybody votes on it or a majority votes on it? Is that considered like voluntary funding, or?
Well, if the taxes are voluntary, if they're not just, if you don't pay taxes, we're going to put you in prison, and that's the only reason you pay the taxes.
Okay, we're close. Okay. Yeah, I'm good.
All right, let me read these. There's a few on the stream jar as well. SIB says, y'all are watermelons, especially Destiny. Anonymous says, why would you have a kid on with someone who has endorsed CP as ethical and had to flee his home state because of an active warrant for repeated... I don't think that's...
I mean, that's why I sent her an active warrant on my home. That's why I sent her that DM earlier. I'm just trying to slide...
Well, they said something about you and your kid, something about you incest with your kid or whatever. I don't think
that's kind of gross. Why do your fans think about incest so much? Is this something that's on their mind a lot?
Well, the last time, let's not.
Okay, I'm just wondering. It seems like a lot of people I talk to are real interested in talking about incest. Like everybody's looking at me like, Destiny, I want to fuck my sister. Please give me the arguments to do it. That's what it feels like sometimes, man. Jesus.
We talked about incest for like a solid hour. Let's just not. Psalm 87 says religion is a choice. I don't believe in God like the rest of my family, and none of them knows that because I hide it from them. Tell me how I'm wrong with that.
You're not. I mean, if you can handle doing that, depending on what form of Christianity you belong to, it might be easier to do that than others. So, for instance, other people, if they want to leave their religion, let's say you're Catholic, they might be very uncomfortable participating in like the Eucharist during Mass, right? When you walk up and you eat like a little piece of unleavened bread and then you take a drink of wine, they may be uncomfortable participating in these ceremonies because they feel like, well, if I leave my religion, I shouldn't have to do that. But obviously, if you stop going up during communion, you're going to get fucking roasted. Or, either the pastor's going to talk to you, priest is going to talk to you, your family will talk to you. People look at you weird, right? Yeah.
Well,
right,
I think this a similar case can be made for conservatism. It really depends on how your whole family views politics and how extreme they are about that sort of thing. How easy it is for you to leave. I think both of them are still a choice, and both of them could hypothetically be just as hard to leave. So I still think that's hypocritical.
Depending on the setting, that's kind of true. Something that a lot of people don't know, for instance, a lot of people demonize the fuck out of every single person in the KKK, but in a lot of places in the South, being part of the KKK was like part of your like regional cultural fucking thing. Now, a lot of KKK people were real fucking racist, and the KKK did a lot of really fucked up shit, but there were a lot of people that just grew up with that in their family and were part of it, and they had to leave at a later point of their life. So yeah, I mean, like you can make arguments for being involved in certain things, but I think generally there are easier ways to leave like your political affiliation than there are to leave your religion. Religion is like a very deeply rooted thing that has like a lot of like ritual and tradition that goes along with it. Generally, political stuff isn't the same. You don't usually go to like a Republican get together every Sunday, to talk about how much you worship Trump, like you might with Jesus or Allah or fucking Yahweh or whatever.
Okay. Let me read these. Baron Nathan Dean says, Destiny is such a disguised delight. E.M. Du Bois says, Soph, dear God, don't look up Shadman, mentioned in the other super chat. Nero719 says, I really hope the watermelons get bred out of existence. Toya says,
Yahweh is the Jewish one, right? Did I fuck that up?
People don't like it. Man, we should just like decide everything by majority rule, my dude. Robert says, Destiny say, that's amazing, and he did nothing wrong. I don't know if you want to say that's amazing, but...
Amazing. Amazing. That guy's
That's amazing.
Adjacent Brown 12 says, Ralph, you cuck. If it wasn't for Destiny coming on your show would be in the gutter. Have you forgotten about Miami? M.I. boy, Destiny on top. Well, I do appreciate Destiny coming on the show for sure, and I appreciate your $5. Thank you. Armchair Warrior says, blacks do commit a ton of crime per capita versus any other group. Crime reflects the origin of their ancestors.
Citation needed, but okay.
Yeah, it was a super chat. L. Ron Humperdinck says, how can Des argue ethical kitty blank but not condone it personally, but Soph can't argue all MS while not, I guess he means all Muslims, while not personally condoning it.
Wait, I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
So they're saying he's saying, how can you make the argument about ethical kitty porn perhaps or whatever, but not condone it personally, but Soph can't argue all Muslims while not personally condoning it. I don't know. That's the.
I mean, the only thing that I would condone is a course of action that lets less children get raped. That's the only thing that I would condone, and there might even be better ways to do it. I don't even know if the child porn thing is something that could exist. Obviously, there's like a boatload of fucking issues that would. Do you regret
making that little aside there?
No, not at all. Actually, I think it's really interesting to see what people attack me with. Like, for instance, when I got into politics like 2 or 3 years ago, I kind of envisioned like forums would be full of people like saying that I was an idiot or I was making like fallacious arguments or my data was bad. But instead, it's like a lot of weird ad homing over like very niche positions that I don't even hold, which I think says a lot about the people that attack me. So,
all right, let's see. Go ahead, so if you want to say something.
You still hold it, and like child.
I hold the position that I don't like children getting raped. Yeah, I don't think many people disagree with that.
Yeah, but you also said you wouldn't back down off that child pornography thing.
If it led to less children getting raped, yeah, because I don't like children getting raped.
Yeah, but there's...
Why are you saying, yeah, but to children getting raped? If it was true, would you be okay with children getting raped if it meant to get rid of some child porn shit? Is that okay with you?
No, I was...
Well, then we agree. Then we're not in disagreement at all.
Let me speak because you're strawmanning me right now, Bonnell. So, the studies have shown that it actually doesn't help with kids not getting raped, and there could be a increased recidivism rate with that. It's mixed results, so I don't think you can.
If you think that was the case, do you think I would still support it?
Well,
If the original reason I supported it was because I don't want kids to get raped, and then you say, well, hey, if you support this thing, this might lead to kids getting raped, do you think I would still support it, or do you think I would say, oh,
No.
well, I
So-
support the thing that leads to less kids getting
So
raped?
do you support it?
I mean, first of all, it's entirely hypothetical, and secondly, I don't know, it's whatever the data supports. Whatever leads to less kids getting raped, that's generally the position that I support.
Okay, and the data says that it doesn't help with, you know.
I mean, I haven't seen that, but if that's
kids
true, then yeah, that would be my position on it. I'd probably be against it.
Well, the production of it of itself is a ethical violation, and I think distributing it might, encourage more production of it.
I mean, if distributing it encouraged production of it, then that would probably be bad because that would lead to more children getting raped because it's generally what happens when you make child porn. So yeah, so that would probably be bad. Yeah.
Okay, so is that what you believe?
Is which would I believe? Which one, that children getting raped is bad?
That child pornography would not be a good thing.
I don't know. I haven't seen whatever data or studies you're suggesting exist. I haven't seen it. If it is, then yeah.
I can link you them.
Oh, knock yourself out, I guess, if you want.
If I might interject, the study was, your position on this point was that you would advocate for the seizure of child pornography that was already created, and then in a very controlled environment have it being used for therapeutic uses to stop child molestation, right?
Hold on one second.
You're not arguing for the creation or the dissemination of child pornography, but the use of seized child pornography for therapeutic uses in a controlled setting.
I guess, yeah. So like this would be like the whole chain for how this would work, right? Is you would get a committee together, you would take first you would have to establish that this would even work, because there's a possibility that showing people child porn just makes them want to rape more kids, in which case you wouldn't fucking do it because that would be fucking horrible. So if it doesn't work, you wouldn't do it initially. If you did think it would work, then you would get stuff that's already been produced because you don't want to incentivize the creation of new child porn, because obviously that would lead to more kids getting fucking raped, which is bad. So you would do that, and you'd have to prove that already seized child porn is better than, say, creating 3D child porn or lolicon or whatever shit Shadman draws or whatever, because if those can be used, why the fuck would you use real child porn? And then thirdly, you'd have to get a committee together that would assess which people you could even begin to approach for asking whether or not you could use previously produced child porn of them in this scenario. There's a chance that an ethics board would never even clear that, and even if they did, there's a chance that not a single person you would talk to would ever even be okay with that. So I mean, like, there's a million. This is like a hypothetical that is like 7 worlds removed from what exists right now.
Let me ask you. There's another hypothetical, and somebody brought it up in chat, and they said just shooting pedophiles would probably cut down on child rape. But would you argue for that?
Generally not. Just killing groups of people is not usually something I'm okay with. No.
I mean, it would definitely lower the rates of child rape, though, right?
I mean, it would, but so would killing all men. I don't know if that's like a good, like that would reduce actually the majority of violent crime around the world, is if we just killed all men, but I'm not really comfortable with that.
So pedophiles who have offended, you can't kill them, but somebody who might be a Nazi, you can just punch them in the face on the street.
So the difference there is that if somebody's in jail, they don't represent a threat to you, but if somebody's out of jail, they could represent a threat to you, right?
But
so for instance, if you
offending ones.
I mean, if you're not offending, then you're not offending. I don't give a fuck if you don't offend, right? That as a utilitarian, right? I'm looking for people that cause negative outcomes on society.
What
you
if
don't
it's a
actually
Nazi that just believes in Nazism but doesn't actually, deport any black people?
I mean, if he doesn't vote at all, or he doesn't tell other people that he wants to deport people, then sure, I'm fine. The same way, if you're like a secret pedo in your head or whatever, if you just jerk it to lolicon all day and you don't tell your friends how cool like lolicon or pedophilia is, then yeah, I guess fine, whatever. If you want to keep shit to yourself in your own head, then that's whatever. But I imagine you, as an ANCAP, you have to be on the same page with me as that, right? You can't seriously think you should legislate the thoughts that people have.
No, I don't believe that. I don't know why.
Okay, so if somebody has a thought in their head and they never act on it or never share it with someone, how could you ever possibly make something like that illegal or hurt somebody for that?
That's not what I'm advocating for. I was just drawing the parallel that if somebody's a Nazi but they're not like going out and killing black people because they're black, then what gives you the jurisdiction to just punch them?
Well, I mean, if there's somebody that can cause direct harm to somebody that has the proclivity to do so, like they're going out and voting, they've demonstrated that they will, I think that you could morally justify violence against those people. If there's somebody that's like actively seeking to harm people, that's actively seeking to harm children or abuse children, I think you could justify violence against that person as well, sure.
Yeah, so that would be a pedophile who's like viewing child pornography and that sort of thing.
I mean, I don't know if all pedophiles are offending. Aren't the majority of them non-offending? I would have to look at the data on that. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Well, I was saying a pedophile that was looking at child pornography. And you would have to look at the data about that.
Sure. I don't know. I don't look up pedophile shit all the time. I've literally had one big argument on this. I don't know why everybody that talks to me wants to talk about it.
Okay. All right, let me go through these. Earjuice says, thought I would drop past for today. Have a good one at everyone. Then he says, hashtag Guntwave. Onion Wizard said, Destiny, you're a bad faith actor. Laughing my fucking ass off. Or LMFAO. Toya says, deplatforming is for cowards who can't defend their views. Imagine being a debater who has to get rid of your opponent to win. Just source facts, my dude. Internet tab says,
well, the problem with like
still
the problem with that argument is that like so if you look at the way like crypto people kind of like operate, they always operate in bad faith, but they try to take advantage of the niceties of society. So like somebody that is like, you know, hiding their power level is always going to thrive because there are people, they're like the centrists or people like Soph, I guess, that will defend these people and go like, well, hold on, you don't truly know that he's a Nazi, because they're hoping that somebody like that is massively giving them the benefit of the doubt. So it can be really hard to attack these people publicly, because then you always have the appearance of being an extremist, even though somebody could be pretty blatant about it, because people in the center will always defend these people. This is why, for instance, lefties hate liberals. I'm using liberal in like the broad like liberalism sense. The reason why people on the left hate liberals is because when push come to shove, they'll say that, well, liberals are always going to side with the fascists over the lefties because it defends their, you know, entrenched position in society and whatnot. And I think there are really strong arguments to be made there, because that seems to be what always fucking happens, is that liberals are really quick to jump up and defend, you know, fascists, because they think, well, they're not actually doing things that are that bad. Look at people like Dave Rubin or Tim Pool or whatever, you know. Sorry, go.
Okay. Internet tab says, Destiny is still seething about inductive reasoning after being called out about it in one debate. You could quick response to that if you want. If
I don't know how I've been called out on inductive reasoning, but okay.
Okay. Dixie Norman says, Destiny is implying he's right, but he isn't. That's why this is dangerous. E.M. Du Bois says, free speech is important because ideas we accept as true today, like physics, were once punishable speech and must be protected. Alan Woke says, Destiny, why are you gay?
Because men are sexy. I watch too much Game of Thrones, I guess. Fuck. That must be where the incest comes from, too. Fuck me, huh?
Space Bitch says, how many times is he going to say bad faith actors? He's like a middle schooler that just discovered the word fuck and has to say it 35 times a day.
How many times haven't I only said bad faith actor like 4 or 5 times in this conversation? I don't know.
You said it a few times.
I'd say 10.
Oh, okay, 10, sure. I mean, if we're talking about deplatforming, like these are the types of people I would seek to deplatform, so, but okay.
Kapang Dad says miscegenation causes demonstrable harm. It is promoted heavily. Destiny opposes this. That makes him a racist. Deplatform him.
Wait, what causes demonstrable harm? Miscegenation? What?
Miscegenation.
What the fuck is that?
Miscegenation is race mixing, basically.
Okay.
Nat says, Destiny dog whistles. Are you just catching on? Define anti-Semitism. Maybe have a chat with Owen Benjamin. I would actually like to
jeez.
Owen Benjamin. That would be really hilarious, and I hope you did talk to him, and I hope I get to watch it. Toya says, forget this debate, Destiny. Let's go carpet bomb Mexico and hand out CP. Okay, I see. It's spelled CSEA. CP to people that are on a list. We can ban free speech while we're at it. Sean says, let's
as long as the CP is only of your siblings. Amen, brother.
Sean says, let's get to real hypotheticals, not hypothetical hypotheticals. Galaxy Brain 420, 60.69 IQ Destiny. Hixnammer says, Ralph was quiet so long I forgot he was there. Welcome back to your show, Ralph. Armchair Warrior says, you can't use the fruits of a crime to profit. The illegals need to go. Synac 8 says, everyone's trying to conquer and kill each other. The Indians lost the war. You can't bring up that issue to modern times when no one currently is responsible. That was a little there. Eric Harrison
wait,
says,
what was that again? Can you say that one more time? I'm sorry, fuck.
He said, everyone was trying to conquer and kill each other. The Indians lost the war. You can't bring up that issue to modern times when no one currently is responsible. Currently alive, I guess.
Okay. I mean, Native Americans are still alive, but okay.
Yeah, Eric Harrison says the Supreme Court absolutely did not approve DACA at all. In fact, the Supreme Court shot down the adult version of it, so why would they approve the version for minors?
I mean, they've declined to comment on it for, how many years? They haven't.
But they didn't approve it. That's two different. Yeah, for
okay, I guess okay. I'll say they haven't approved it, but they haven't shot it down either. They've declined to the last that I heard, I think in January of this year, they declined to take it on as a case. So
no, they declined to take it above the appeals. Like they declined to take it out of order. It has to go up the appeals process.
Okay.
Yeah, they do that sometimes. They send it back down, let it go all the way through. Internet Tab says Noam Chomsky also said which side would win. Dip. Armchair. He said Noam Chomsky, which I might start calling him Chomsky. Isn't Gator Chomsky? All right. Armchair Warrior says white left doesn't realize they are in power. The right is on the fringe, so the right should have more rights according to Destiny. L. Ron Humperdinck says Destiny.
That's like a really common like narrative that like because people on the right like to victimize themselves a lot. But I mean, most governors in the U.S. are white. Both houses of Congress were not white. I'm sorry. Most governors are Republican. They're probably white too. Both houses of Congress were Republican. The president is Republican. I mean, like the largest news network right now on cable TV is Republican. I mean, this idea that like Republicans have no representation anywhere has always been like, you know, like on one hand, Republicans want to snowflake and say, oh, we're not represented anywhere. But then on the other hand, they want to say, well, this is the real map of the Trump versus Hillary election. And then they show the map where like 99% of like the landmass of the U.S. is Republican. So I don't really know which. It seems like they just like kind of take on whatever side depending on what they want to complain about at any given time.
Well, you could say, if you minimized it, you could say that I should be, with your logic, I should be a protected class at my school because I am a ideological minority.
If you actually face like real harms related to that, then yeah. Although I'm still not comfortable using that in regards to like an ideology, like a political tag. If we were talking about something like an ethnic thing or like your gender or like your sexual status or like your religion, I'd be more keen to that, with religion being the most that I could be argued against there. But for political ideologies, I mean, like that's something that is much easier to step away from than like being a woman or being black or having like a culture of a certain religion.
Well, I don't think you can step away from that at all. But yeah, religion is still a choice just as much as an ideology.
Okay.
I mean, I would argue that your political ideology is baked in from your own personal identity.
Maybe, but it's generally a lot easier to change your mind on a political ideology than it is on any of the other things listed on your race, on your religion. On your culture.
Is it though? Because we just talked about how religion wasn't really a choice. I would say that the same goes to a political ideology. Do you think that you could ever like change your ideology to support a more right-wing candidate?
I mean, you could, yeah. One, it's a lot easier to keep.
No,
your
I'm
political,
asking you personally. Could you?
When you say can, like, do you mean like would I have my job, or would I personally ever make that decision, or would I lose my friends? Like, what do you mean in relation to what?
Do you personally believe that you could change the way that you think in the way that you think politically?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If you go back and you watch videos of me 8 years ago, I was like a hard-leaning libertarian, like anti-SJW Gamergate bro, like literally like 5 or 6 years ago. So yeah, I think you can change.
All right. I'm going to read through all these. I swear I'll read through every super chat, but I'm going to take a couple calls. And if somebody wants to interject.
Oh, and then also real quick, also, there was the other important qualifier there that like, if you're causing demonstrable harm to people as a result of any of your classes as well, I think that's a lot less defensible too. So for instance, let's say that you're Islamic, but let's say that means that you have to treat women in a derogatory manner. I don't think that should be protected because you're infringing on other people's rights as well. All right, sorry, I just want to bring that up.
That's all good. You want to say something, Soph?
Well, I just wanted to agree with that. That's why I feel like, they should. It is something that should be able to be attacked. Like, the Islamic law is completely absurd.
Okay. Let's take a few. Oh wait, I have to turn them down a little bit, don't I? Okay. Okay. Bulk Bogan, you're on the air. Real quick, you want to interject?
Oh, am I on?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to say, Bonehead Bottle, all his arguments are based off of fucking hypothetical situations that he pulls out of his ass.
Where else would you get hypotheticals from if not your ass? I'm curious.
All right.
Wait, did he leave?
Criticism of you.
By the way, Destiny, do you want the Discord link to possibly get some of your own viewers to call
that's
in?
fine. I'm fine with that too.
No, that's okay. I don't like circle jerks. Okay. I love the combat. Bring them all in. As long as you're not saying bad words, and I have to show this.
To have some combat too, though.
Okay. Well, look. But one of the criticisms I've seen people raise, even in the stream today in the chat, and they say, "Well, wow, he's always using hypothetical." And to be fair, you do use hypotheticals a lot. What would you say to that?
Hypotheticals are valuable because they allow us to isolate what it is we're talking about. That's the important part of a hypothetical. So, for instance, let's say that I wanted to say like is sitting in a I'm trying to think of like why I would like a situation where I would use a hypothetical. Like if we think that like you should take action against somebody because they're threatening your existence, right? Like rather than say something like, well, what about DACA? where it's like, okay, well, hold on. Is DACA there as part of U.S. law or blah, 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 right? These are all side things that aren't really related to the central question of, do you have a right to take action against somebody that politically threatens your existence? So in that case, I would invent a very simple hypothetical. Let's say a group of people was voting on legislation to remove you from the neighborhood, and they were going to use the police to do it. Is that right or wrong, right? That's a really simple hypothetical, and now we can say, well, hold on, I agree or I disagree with it, and we've isolated the issue right there. If I try to bring it into a larger issue, like related to DACA or related to white nationalists, well, now it can get sidetracked into a whole bunch of other arguments that aren't really related to the central question. Like, is this real? Is this legal law? Is it an executive order? Is it law from Congress? Right? That's why we use hypotheticals generally.
Okay. Real quick on that.
Hold on, Flamingo. Let me take the callers. I'll let you follow up in a moment. Just let me roll through real quick. Atomic Denny, real quick. You want to interject?
Oh, am I on?
Yes.
Oh, hey guys. Okay, I had a question for Destiny. So, would it be? I think we've all seen. Everybody that listens is a fan of the retort has seen these journalists, these blue check marks on Twitter advocating for a white genocide. So, would it be okay for white people to recognize these people on the streets as individuals, not as a group, and say, well, I feel threatened by their existence. I feel like they're threatening my existence. They're advocating for a system where I don't exist anymore. Would it be justified to attack those blue check marks or those journalists?
It depends on what you mean. It depends on what you mean by white genocide. If there are like people that are unironically advocating for this, so like for instance in my community, I have a lot of fucking lefties that talk about killing capitalists. I'm not comfortable with that, and I tell people to fuck off with that shit. That LARPing is like a fucking lefty. The thing is like a lot of the times when people say get rid of the concept of whiteness or white genocide or kill white identity, usually what they're talking about is like getting rid of the concept of whiteness. So this is something that's historically just been used to basically exclude groups of people. Like I've seen, like for instance, I'm only saying this because I saw Blair White tweet something where she was like, well, look at this article saying we need to get rid of white people. But when you actually read the article, what the person was saying, well, the concept of white is very arbitrary and it's only been used historically to oppress people. Maybe we should get rid of this concept. I don't think you should be able to attack somebody because that's their opinion on that. Now, if somebody is unironically saying like we should kill all white people or death to white people or some shit like that, and they're like taking action to like make that happen, that would be something I'd be really uncomfortable with.
What do you mean by like getting rid of the concept of whiteness? Getting rid of like, yeah, what does that exactly mean?
Sure. So somebody like Nicholas Fuentes made the argument to me that America was originally supposed to be a white country. But when we go back and we look at what people meant when they said white in the 1700s, they didn't mean white like Nicholas Fuentes might be, right? They mean white like Anglo-Saxon, not people that are Germans or Spaniards, or a lot of people that today we would look and be like, oh, that's a white, or like me, right? Like I'm half Cuban, right? But I'm white, right? So like historically, it seems like the concept of whiteness has just been used to exclude groups of people. Like we expanded the definition of white to include, Germanic peoples and whatnot in early U.S. history, but then we used that white thing to exclude Italians or Irishmen. And then later on, we incorporated Italians and Irishmen, and we used it to exclude certain Hispanic populations. Now we include a lot of Hispanic populations, so much so that somebody like Nicholas Fuentes can be considered a white nationalist, but we don't include other people. So it just seems like the concept of whiteness has just been used as this like exclusionary thing. And some people say, well, maybe we should get rid of that concept. Sorry, go ahead.
So it should be completely abolished, like as if it has no use?
Well, I mean, it has a use, but just that less than it should be abolished. Because I mean, like obviously being white or white-related things, I mean, are real in society. But more like recognizing the idea that whiteness as a concept is something that like what it's been historically used for and what it kind of leads to when you like cherish white identity or something.
Can I ask you a follow-up question to that, Destiny? Is there any other?
Wait. Your mic is cutting out. You said, can I ask you a follow-up question, Destiny? And then...
Yeah, is there any other racial or ethnic group that can be deconstructed like that other than white?
Deconstructed in what way?
Just the way that you said, like, picked apart, well, technically, historically, this one wasn't, even though it kind of was, or this one wasn't, or when it kind of was. Can you think of any other ethnic group that you're allowed to deconstruct like that?
I'm not going to lie. My history is so fucking bad. I'm sure there are examples historically, but I personally can't think of it. I don't know. I mean, racial identities can be really complicated. I don't know.
No, I'm asking, is there any that you would be allowed to in polite society to deconstruct like that?
I'm having a hard time. Can you like give me an example? I'm not trying to trap you, but like,
if you were trying to like deconstruct black identity or Asian identity.
Yeah, what about it? Like, could
If
you say that like
you try-
Asian identity has been like exclusionary or something by calling certain people
Yeah.
like Korean? It's possible, but I'm just like, I'm so not. I don't know the history of the regions enough that people could be discriminatory based on like identity or something. I don't know enough. I can't say.
All right, let's take another caller. Cheesehead 69, you're on the air on the Ralph Retort. You have anything you want to interject into this debate?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's
Oh wait, hold on. I
entertainment.
can't. I don't want to do
What's
this.
going on, Tiny?
All right, I don't
You
want to get into like another like
debating
20-hour
14-year-olds?
fucking conversation. Hit me up with a question. What do you got?
Debating 14-year-olds?
Yeah, I mean, if I don't, then I'm accused of running
Kind of a
away from
lateral
14.
move
Do
there.
I want to be accused of running away from 14-year-olds or debating them? What's the worst one?
No, you're right. You're right. No, you're right. You're always right, dude. You're always right.
Thanks.
It's
I try
never
to be. It's what I build my
obfuscation.
brand on.
It's just
I'm
always
pretty not
supreme
obfuscating. I
logic.
mean, but okay, what do you
Supreme
got?
logic is what you are governed by. For example, do you disavow child pornography? Well, I'd have to see the data. Well, I'd have to take a look at a study. I'd have to get some kind of lab coat. to
Well, we
tell
can't
me
all take
how-
our moral truths from God, so yeah, I would have to actually
We
analyze
actually
things and
can.
think about them. I don't
We
just
actually
read the
can.
Bible for my moral truths. If you're
We
able to
actually
do that and
can,
you're
though.
satisfied with those answers, that's fine. But for me
Where do you
personally,
derive your morality?
what do you mean? From epistemology
Where
to
do you
normative
derive
ethics, and then
your-
you derive, and then you go applied ethics
Yeah,
from
where,
there.
where do you derive your morality, if not from God? From what authority? do
We
you
use a
get your morality?
combination of a priori reasoning, and then you select whichever philosopher you feel like most directly aligns with your personal views on how
Ah, so
morality
you
should
have
be determined.
you have no moral authority. You don't know that morality is even real. It's just
I know
sort
it's
of
as I know it's
speculation.
as real as you do when you arbitrarily choose which holy book you're going
That's
to draw your
probably
morals
why-
out of.
That's
Yeah.
probably why you like, you endorse child porn. And
I
you
don't really
have
endorse
to
child
talk
porn.
about it.
Although I will, it's very
Hey,
hard not to comment on the
you're-
irony here of a Catholic
you're
talking to me about the
photograph of
evils of child
underage
porn
children.
when not only the Catholic institution has been involved in the abuse of numerous children, it's also been revealed that the highest levels of Catholic leadership have defended the actual molestation and rape of so many little boys. So it's very interesting that as a Catholic, you come to me pretending you have moral authority when those scandals have ravaged the Catholic Church throughout its entire history, Nick.
Yeah, except the difference is the Catholics believe that pedophiles go to hell. We're against child porn, unlike you.
Do you think all those little kids that were being raped in confessionals cared that those priests were going to hell, Nick?
There are bad people everywhere.
I like the pivot on the
Catholic
question there,
religion-
Nick. Can
It's
you
not a
actually make him?
pivot.
Can you make him answer
It's
a
not a
question or
pivot.
ask a question? I don't want to sit here and play games
Catholic
with Nick all night.
religion- The Catholic religion doesn't
Please
say
make him ask
that
a question.
everybody- The Catholic religion
Please
doesn't
make him
say
ask
that
a question.
everybody
Dude,
in the
I went to Catholic
religion
school for
will be
12 years.
without
I don't
sin.
want this guy that barely knows his
Simply
own
says
religion to
there
sit here and try to fucking doctor me on it, okay? I
Simply
don't need
says
to listen to
there's
this.
a moral authority that comes from
Okay.
God, which says, for example,
Please
child
make
porn
him.
is
All right,
wrong.
let me know when he's done,
Unlike you,
okay? Let me know when he's got a
however,
question,
where
bud.
you see-
Oh man, dude! If a Catholic wants to come on and talk about fucking child rape, that's the easiest gimme I've ever had in my entire life. It's the easiest gimme I've ever had in my entire life. I'll wait for him to finish his diatribe, and then we'll come back. I'm waiting for a message from Ralph. I also love the pivots on the questions. It feels so good. Ugh. See, like on a one-on-one format, right? It's very easy to hammer somebody down when they're like, if they don't answer a question, if they are trying to divert into another topic, if they won't engage with you, or if they won't ask a specific question, right? It's very easy, I think, to nail somebody like him down. He's so fucking dishonest. He's so slippery. We have our snake gloves on, though. I see them talking right now. I'm not sure what they're talking about. Just waiting for a message from Ralph. Go back in? No, I'll wait for them to finish. I'm not gonna let Nick sit and like preach his random fucking Catholic bullshit to my fucking audience. It's fucking stupid as fuck. I went to Catholic school for 12 years. I don't need a fucking 22-year-old guy to give me his interpretation of fucking scripture. I'm good on that. He's defending his racist shit now and talking about your CP stuff. You might be there to counter it. Counter to the Killstream audience? I mean, I think he already made himself look bad enough. I don't know how many viewers they have. I'm guessing it's probably less than mine. I'm good on that. Wait, wait, I would ask for a link to their stream, but I don't actually want you guys to link it because I don't want... Wait, how many viewers do they have? 2,500? Yeah, fuck it. I'm okay. They can do their thing for a little bit.
You do have a question. You do have a question before I.
Oh, I'm back. Did he actually like get to the point? Or?
I was just getting into that. I think Nick does have a question.
Oh boy. Okay. What is it?
I don't really have a question. I just wanted to inform everybody.
This is what he does. It's like soliloquy Nick over here. He comes on, he gives his little diatribe, and then he pieces out. He doesn't respond to or engage with any of the points that someone else brings up. I admire it.
You just muted yourself.
You're a very powerful. I mean, I might as well be muted. You don't respond to anything I say anyway, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same thing.
You just said,
you're very. I will give you one compliment. Your rhetoric is very powerful. You're very effective at what you do. I mean, I admire it. You do it well.
True. And you want to know how I know that? Because the final results are in from the Trainwrecks TV poll. Team Right pulls ahead with 56% of the vote over Team Left. So I just want to say, hey, man,
that's amazing. Well, you know what they say, man. If there is one way to determine moral truth, it's definitely internet polls that get linked on 4chan.
But in the end, we all know Nick the Knife, the king of blood sports.
It would have been so funny to see your interpretation of the poll afterwards if I would have spammed it to all of my shit. Well, you know, those triggered lefties, linking it all to those lefty communities.
Like you're kind of coping here. You sounded so calm earlier, and then I got in here and you like laughing.
I'm super calm. Yeah, because you're funny as fuck, dude, man. I have a wonderful time when you're here. It's very enjoyable for me to have you in a one-on-one environment.
The funny side. You could say
how can I not laugh when a Catholic comes in here to talk about the evils of molesting children? Like, that's one of the funniest fucking topics in the world, my dude.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about morality and you talk about child pornography being okay. That's,
almost as funny that thinks that they have good views on morality when they subscribe to biological prescriptivism, Nick. Oh my God. Imagine unironically taking naturalistic arguments for how humans ought to act in society and thinking you can actually have intelligent conversations about morality while also conceding that all of it come from a fucking book. That's a fucking good one to be. Slippery, Nick.
You're right. You derive your morality from so-called epistemology. That's a lot more sound than deriving it from a non-human third-party source.
Non-human third-party source. That's a real fancy way of saying a spooky fucking alien that judges you for masturbating, Nick. I mean, if that's what you want to go with, though.
Here we go.
I mean, that's cool, dude.
Sky Daddy. This is really advanced argumentation, man. But anyway, I just wanted to say, man, tough loss. Maybe you'll get him next time.
You really think you lost that? I thought you did pretty good. You're being really hard on yourself.
Tough loss for you, Mr. What is it, 44?
Oh, on the internet poll? No, it's okay. I know it was linked around poll a lot. I'm not really too bothered by it, but thanks. I heard you got 300 subs yesterday, though. Good job. Dude, you're on the road to 25K. I'm holding out for you. I'm celebrating. I hope your breakup with Allsup wasn't too hard. I know that when he left you... Actually, wait a second. Does that bother you? Doesn't Allsup have like 250,000 views on YouTube now? Does that keep you up at night?
What keeps me up at night is 56% of the polls, baby.
434,000
victory in the debate.
subs.
Maybe that's why
Damn.
now,
maybe you shouldn't have burned that bridge, Nick. Holy shit! I thought you were like a little bit more politically effective. That's really sad. Well, I hope that you guys make up in the future. Maybe it'll help you boost your channel a little bit more.
We already did make up. I had him on my show a couple of months ago.
Oh shit! You should try to get some help from him so that you could be a little bit more of a relevant voice on the internet rather than like last hour call-in, the desperation move when everybody else backed out.
Like Reddit community.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You're a very relevant person when it comes to like.
Well, I'm relevant enough for you to tweet about me all day long and then show up on random internet shows to shout at me about Catholic theology.
Because you're calling for violence. You spent the whole debate this time talking about me on the Ralph Retort. Talking about me, talking about you. Why do you think I came on? People are DMing me. Apparently, this tiny little guy is saying that violence should be visited.
People are DMing you?
All this other stuff. Yeah.
All 150 Nick Fuentes fans, or however many. They must be real allegiant. Nah, I don't need to see your DMs. That's kind of weird. Nah, I don't need you slipping in my DMs, Nick. I don't know what kind of weird Catholic shit you've got going. I don't know if you're gonna try to Milo Yiannopoulos me on fucking DMs there or some shit.
This pedophile guy keeps saying that like somebody should hit you or something, talking really tough after you kind of got like.
Hold on. That's not fair, Nick. You can't call me a pedophile. I didn't take my holy orders. I haven't been a priest. I don't molest children. I got out of Catholicism 10 years ago, my dude. I'm very against molesting children.
I extrapolated it from what you said earlier.
Ooh,
about,
extrapolations.
Child pornography.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're a pedophile. So.
Well, I mean, are you like underage? Are you trying to get your hopes up? Are you trying to like signal to me some shit, or like are you?
I just think you're a pedophile.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad your thoughts are important to me. I will cherish them and keep them in mind. When I check your Twitter all tomorrow and you're still tweeting about me, I'm sure I'll remember you. So.
Yeah. Okay. You're a pedophile.
Okay. You're a Catholic. It's actually a worse insult because it includes the pedophilia and then a whole bunch of other dumb shit. But yeah.
Yeah. Catholics believe people like you are going to hell. That's the difference between you and me.
Yeah. And they also rape little boys in confessionals. So I'm okay with being judged by Catholics.
Rapists.
What?
You can't say all Catholics are pedophiles.
No, but the institution of the
Just
Catholic
listen to
Church
priests.
did defend the molestation of little boys. It's been a huge scandal sweeping the entire United States.
Yeah, but you can't make a huge sweeping generalization like that. You said you're generally against something like that.
True.
You know
True.
what, Soph? You're right. Not all Catholics are rapists. You got me there.
Yeah, it's all inconsistencies with this guy.
All inconsistent. Oh, remember when I asked
It
you what was
is.
inconsistent about my arguments last night, and you went completely silent?
I don't think that happened actually.
No, you're right, because you just keep on talking and talking and talking, but you never do respond to my questions. But that's what I like about you, Nick. You're real slippery.
What questions did I not respond to?
You accused me of being really inconsistent in my arguments, and then when I asked you what kind of inconsistent arguments I'd platformed, you failed to
Yeah, I don't
respond to
recall
them.
you asking that question, but I could.
Oh, you
share
could
with
check the
for
VOD maybe.
example-
I'm sure
I
you
could
don't.
share
You have
with
it up on like your
for
TV.
example,
I'm sure you seem like the kind of guy
I
that
could
gets
share
off
with
to
you
watching
some
videos of himself.
inconsistencies if you'd like me to answer it.
No, I'm good. You already said you didn't have any questions for me, so
You're fun, Destiny.
thanks.
You're
I try
fun.
to be. All right, Ralph. Who do we got? Who's next?
Oh, real quick though, I do have a question for Nick specifically because there was one part of the saw that didn't really get expounded upon. One of the things in your opening statements was that you stated that many people in online right-wing groups generally have a low tolerance for talk of enacting physical violence. What do you think about Destiny being uncomfortable with it, but seeming to tolerate that in his own circles, at least calling for actionable violence?
Well, yeah, talk about inconsistencies. You know, the guy the other day, we went on this big debate for I don't know how long the other day on train wrecks. And what was the debate about? It was whether or not there was something intrinsic to right-wing ideology about violence. And if you watch my show every night, not only do we not advocate for violence, we actually explicitly advocate against violence every night. And after the Christchurch shooting, I said, and it's like every night I say, no violence. We're trying to vote. We're trying to get involved in political campaigns and things like that. So it's just hilarious to me that Destiny and Hassan try to make this case that, oh, the right wing is inherently, we can extrapolate. We can always, the logical conclusion, in my opinion, of this ideology is violence. And therefore, the solution is deplatforming. And what does he come on here today and say? He says that, well, people are doing harm, and we can say that Nick Fuentes is a neo-Nazi, and therefore we should have violence against him. I'd be fine with that. I think that's a good thing, whatever. So talk about inconsistencies, you know, and he doesn't want me to answer that because he knows I'm going to bring it up. That's why he tries to talk about slippery. He tries to
Sure.
dip
So
out
there's
of
nothing
that
to answer here. So first of all, this idea that it's like, I guess it's really plays well to the audience to pretend that you're against all violence is like a really stupid position. Nobody ironically or unironically defends this position. Obviously, there are forms of violence that can be justified. All of us in here probably.
Yeah, like for example, against pedophiles. Like
Sure.
you.
Yeah, for offending pedophiles, yeah, sure. We enact violence against them by either locking them in prison or killing them, right? By execution or whatever. So yeah, we agree with that. We agree that we can take defensive measures. Generally, everyone in here probably agrees with the concept of self-defense. I'm merely expanding that to a political realm. If you feel like your existence is threatened in the United States, then there are people that definitely feel like they can take defensive actions against it. I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. If you can justify your position morally, then it is what it is.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, again, anybody can justify their own violence. I'm sure the Christchurch.
Well, then I guess it's up to us to try to platform good.
Violence.
Yeah, I agree, and that's you know what, I agree with you, Nick. I agree. No, it doesn't fall apart at all. But the difference is, I feel like I can justify mine. I can justify mine from a secular framework, so I feel like I can argue it to other people. That's the difference between me and you, Nick. If I want to argue against somebody, whether I think some form of violence should be good or bad, I can do it from a pretty foundational level without having to invoke any spooky spirits that live in the sky and watch me when I sleep. Whereas for me to have any conversation with you about morality or any sort of moral decisions, I have to buy into the concept of your Judeo-Christian God to do it. Specifically, the Catholic version of him.
Yeah, that's obviously misdirection. You're getting away from the point.
I'm sorry. So your original point was whether or not I could argue whether or not like how I can justify violence. That's the original point, and it's not misdirection. It's directly the central part of your point, Nick. Your justifications all come from God. Mine don't.
Because you know your argument is wrong, and that's why you're misdirecting.
My argument's not. Wait, I'm sorry. Are you telling me your arguments don't come from God, Nick?
I think you're misdirecting completely.
How am I misdirecting, Nick?
We're talking about. I'll tell you exactly what you say.
Sure.
I don't answer your questions.
No, go ahead and tell me. How am I misdirecting, Nick?
I'll tell you if you stop interrupting me.
Okay, go ahead and tell me.
Thank you, pedophile. So the inconsistency which I was talking about is the fact that you say that, well, technically.
Hold on. You told me you were going to tell me how I was misdirecting. Wait. You told me I was going to talk about misdirecting, Nick. Why are you talking about inconsistencies now? Hold on.
I promise
Can you tell me how I was misdirecting?
Yeah. I'm about to answer your question.
Tell me how I'm misdirecting, please.
Thank you, pedophile. I will tell you.
Go ahead.
So
Booger
I will
Nick, let's hear
I
it.
was saying, okay, can you stop interrupting so I can
Sure
respond?
thing, Booger Nick.
Stop interrupting him.
Thank you. See, Soph Got to give it to Soph. She's really a hero.
I can't wait for you to tell me how I was misdirecting the conversation, Nick.
Okay, pedophile. I'm trying to get to it if you stop interrupting me. So, again, the misdirection comes from this. I point out, if we're talking about the original claim and where the misdirection occurs, the claim is about the inconsistency about violence. So I'm telling you that when you say that everybody who thinks that they are defending themselves is justified in using violence, whether that's people fighting Nazis or whether that's people fighting other people, it's justified, and we justify violence all the time and whatever, which is obviously inconsistent. If what you were talking about yesterday was that Christchurch is this big problem, we have to deplatform those people. So clearly that kind of violence cannot be justified, but just you say that all kinds of other violence can be justified based on self-defense. And then you take this weird misdirection where you start talking again about morality with us, which is a whole other subject. Then we're talking about Judeo-Christian gods.
Wait, I'm sorry. You think that morality isn't tied into whether or not you can defend yourself? You don't think that morality is involved in talking about self-defense?
Of course, it's a broad subject.
Okay, wait. So are you telling me that there are hold on, let me respond to your original point before you... Can I please respond?
I'm not finished.
Oh, you're still going? How about we take this point by point, Nick? Are you scared of going through your points one at a time?
I love the
Well, I mean, like, you brought up enough there to chat about. We could talk about it without you diatribing for 15 minutes.
It's like, you can't help interrupting. You can't help, like...
Well, because usually when I have discussions about arguments, I really like to go through point by point instead of letting you say 55 million different things.
You don't speak in paragraphs.
Yeah, well, how about we talk about, like, the point that you just brought up? Do you think that all forms of violence are identical, or do you think that there are different forms of violence that can have different justifications?
Of course, of course.
Then what do you disagree with about me? Why are you saying, he says some forms of violence can be justified, while other forms of violence can't be justified? Well, of course I say that. That's only reasonable to literally any person that has any understanding about forms of violence, and you just admitted it yourself. So why would you attack me over that? That seems mighty inconsistent, Nick.
That's a total obfuscation.
I'm sorry, how am I obfuscating?
I will tell you. I'm about to tell if you don't interrupt.
Go for it.
I like how I tell you it's an obfuscation.
Go ahead, Booger Nick. Tell me how I'm obfuscating, please.
How is it?
Please tell me how I'm obfuscating.
You call me Booger Nick like you're not a pedophile. It's kind of.
I mean, I'm not a pedophile. Let me put it this way: there aren't any videos of me being a pedophile. There are videos of you eating boogers, Nick. So
I'll proceed to tell you, Mr. Pedophile. So,
okay, go ahead and tell me.
So you say that, if I perceive that Nazis are going to visit violence upon somebody else, if I perceive that a Nazi is a threat to somebody, well, I can have violence against them.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we're talking about standards here. You're talking about a non-state person using violence against civilians. Whatever you want to call it, somebody who has ideas about demographics or fertility rates, this is a civilian person. So you're saying, I can act unilaterally against civilians using violence preemptively if I feel threatened. So
I'm sorry, are you saying that you can't do that, Nick?
That in principle is no different than what white nationalist violence is.
Well, hold on.
That they are preempting some kind of harm being visited upon them by immigration, then in principle there's no difference, and that's the inconsistency.
Well, sure. So the actual defense itself is not different, but your justifications for whether these people are going to enact harm on you is. This idea, you use a lot of words that even you don't agree with. You're saying, well, this is horrible that a non-state actor, civilian, can unilaterally enact violence preemptively against another person. If you're in your house and you have a gun and you see somebody about to break in and kill you, of course you would take violence against them. And guess what? You're a non-state actor enacting violence against a civilian unilaterally. I mean, it's the exact same.
That's a totally disingenuous argument.
How is it? I literally just used every single adjective that you used to describe something that was... Yeah, sure, go ahead and tell me. Go ahead.
Angry. You're getting very angry.
I'm not angry at all, Nick. This is fun for me. It's so much easier to have you here all to myself. This is so much more entertaining for me. Go ahead and tell me. Please tell me. It is very scary to be in a one-on-one conversation where I don't have to wrestle with Sargon of dumb fuck a cod instead.
I'll explain to you why it's disingenuous.
Go ahead and tell me how it's disingenuous.
I'm going to. It's disingenuous because, of course, when you're talking about somebody with political violence who doesn't advocate violence or anything like that, you're talking about so-called Nazis. You're saying that somebody should commit violence against me, and you said that earlier, when I'm over here in my home not bothering anybody. You compare that to a burglar who trespasses into your property, breaking the law, presenting immediate harm to you? Of course,
no, I didn't actually compare it. I just said that you could justify forms of violence where you have a non-state actor who is enacting violence unilaterally against another civilian. That's all I said. I didn't necessarily say they're the same thing. Now, I do believe that violence against people like you could be justified because you use a public platform to spread a message that would lead to violence against other people.
Could you say that again? Could you say that part again about violence being justified against me? I just want to get that for the clip.
Oh, sure. So I think that violence can be justified against people like Nicholas Fuentes, who use their public platform platform to advocate for violence against other groups of people, or
when
to
do
advocate.
when do I use my platform to advocate?
Sure,
for
when you
violence?
advocate ideas related to like the Jewish question, or advocate
How?
ideas
Yeah,
related
how?
Is
to
that
race
directly
realism.
advocating violence?
Yeah, how is that direct advocacy? What do I say about that?
I mean,
actually
it's not direct
think
advocacy in that you're telling somebody to walk out with a gun and go and kill somebody, but I mean, there's a pretty clear line between people taking on like neo-Nazi-esque
How?
beliefs and then trying to excise people from their country.
What is a neo-Nazi-esque belief?
Sure, how about the idea that white people and white culture is something that needs to be defended against other foreign invaders like Muslims that should be shot up in their mosques like the guy in New Zealand did? I think that people like that are pretty demonstrably coming from the types of ideology that people like you spread. I think that's a pretty easy connection.
You don't think it's factual that demographic change is occurring? You disagree with that?
Yeah, sure. Demographic changes have occurred all throughout human history. Yeah, of course.
No, but that's not the question. You don't agree that demographic change is occurring in Western
demographic
countries?
change is occurring everywhere. Yeah, of course.
Okay, so that's a neo-Nazi-esque belief, right?
Except I don't use that to dog whistle for why these people should be removed from any platform. I mean, wait, hold on, Nick. How can you simultaneously attack people on the left for saying diversity is our greatest strength, and then saying, well, hold on, so you admit that diversity is happening? That's not very consistent of you, Booger Nick.
Well, you're telling me that a Nazi-esque belief is the idea that white culture must be defended against invaders, but you yourself agree that white culture and white people are being displaced. So I'm failing to see the distinction between the two.
Well, the distinction is I don't necessarily think a demographic change is an inherent evil. I don't think that demographic change is something that requires violent action to prevent, because demographic change...
I've never said that. I've never said that.
Not explicitly. You're pretty sneaky, Nick, but don't
I've
worry.
never said
Don't
that
worry, Nick. I watch your stuff.
explicitly or
I watch your stuff a little bit closer than that. But I mean, you're
Clearly
playing well to the
haven't.
audience.
Clearly
You're
haven't.
playing well to the audience, Nick. You're
When
very
have I
slippery.
ever- wait,
Very
when
sneaky.
When have I ever implicitly advocated for violence?
I mean, I would say that calling into question the legitimacy of the Holocaust, or talking about how maybe black people are more prone biologically to crime and should be removed from society, I would say these types of things.
How does one follow from the other? I don't understand how one follows from the other.
How does trying to delegitimize the idea that the Holocaust actually happened in an effort to get people to be more critical of how Jewish people are trying to subvert Western culture in order to destroy white men, something that's so extreme that it might actually call a person to violence against these very types of people? I don't know, Nick. I'm not sure. We could spend a YouTube video exploring it later. Maybe I could even have you on as a guest later. We could talk about it, Nick.
Something I think that's called begging the question.
What does begging the question mean?
It means that what you're doing is you're sort of instituting your own assumption about where you think that can go, rather than it's rather inductive rather than deductive. Because what I'm saying is not when
we can't speak deductively about any of this. Of course, we can only speak inductively about this.
By the way, I've never denied the Holocaust. That's never happened.
Oh no, of course not. You never deny it outright. You only deny the accuracy of the reporting. You're very slippery in how you do it. Don't worry, Nick. I see how you do it.
I totally believe everything that they say about that.
Absolutely everything? Wow.
Absolutely everything. Every part of it.
That's crazy.
Machines, the roller coasters.
I walk outside and I look over my neighbor's house where they say they're baking thousands of cookies, and I don't see any smoke coming out of her chimney, Nick. I'm not sure. I wonder sometimes.
Yeah, that's well, hey, I'm a big fan of chocolate chip cookies, but I've never
really.
Denied...
It's because it seems like when I watch your stream all day, you hate chocolate chip cookies, so I have a really hard time telling that sometimes.
One of my favorites.
Okay.
Some of my favorite foods happen to be chocolate chip cookies. So,
gotcha.
So I have actually never denied the Holocaust, but in any case, let's take a look at what it is for itself. Questioning the validity of certain historical events, to me, does not seem like a violent action in itself. I mean, we could say that the American Revolution, was that truly a revolution, or was that a war of independence, or, how could we classify it? We could look at a lot of historical events and hypothesize about numbers or qualitative things, but I don't understand how that in itself makes it violence, and that's what you're failing to prove.
Of course, I'm not going to be able to prove that to you. Yeah, sure. I'm not going to be able to prove that to you in a single conversation. This is something that calls for a lot more nuance. I mean, I feel really dumb because I'm explaining this to you, but I know that you know it, and I know that you play to the audience really well, but it's kind of like the same thing regarding like race realism, right? If a scientist wanted to talk to me about the nature of intelligence, does intelligence come from genetics or does it come from environment? This is a very interesting question to have, and it's not inherently bad. Now, when the totality of somebody's platform is them advocating the destruction or the removal of black people from the United States, and then they want to talk about that question, it seems a little bit leading to me that these are it's peculiar that these are the types of questions they seem to be most keen on investigating. There is a whole dearth of history that you could explore, but you seem to be very fixated on the Holocaust, and I kind of wonder, why is somebody more interested in this particular piece of his history that also happens to go along with the narrative that they're pushing about removing Jewish influence from society? It really makes me wonder why that's the type of stuff you want to talk about, Nick.
I'm not obsessed with the Holocaust. I have 360 episodes of America First. I probably talked about that like 5 times.
5 times.
So, I
Okay,
don't know where you're getting
interesting.
that from.
More than
I
I've
don't know where
talked
you're
about.
getting that
It's
from,
more than I've
and-
talked about doubting the official records of the Holocaust. But hey,
I've never
to each
talked
their
about
own, I
doubting.
guess.
I've talked about the great tragedy and how we have to improve
Uh-huh.
and always remember and learn from it. But in any
Ooh.
case, I don't know where you're
Learn
getting.
what, to do a
again, you
better
talk
job
about-
next time, Nick? What do you
talk
have to
about
learn?
Slipping some things in there. You talk about slipping things in there. What
Uh-huh.
did you say about like the destruction of black people? Where are you getting that from? You say, well, we can't talk about race and IQ if our platform is dedicated to talking about the destruction or removal of black people. Where are you getting that from?
I don't
Are
know,
you
Nick.
talking
You know,
about
I'm
the
willing to
same
bet that if I
show?
go through all your videos, you're probably never going to explicitly call for it, huh? But man, there's sure is a lot of talk about getting rid of violent demographics in the United States that are contributing to the destruction of, you know,
Wow.
the Western
That's
culture and
fascinating.
leading to, yeah, it's real fascinating, isn't
Sounds
it?
like you don't have your evidence, big guy. Sounds like
No,
you don't
it's just
have
the
your
conversation
data.
is like a little bit more complicated than what I could fit into like a 5-minute, you know, soliloquy for my stream chat.
I'll
But
tell
I mean,
you-
you've
I'll
done a
tell
very
you,
good job.
I'll actually be straight up with you for a moment if I can.
Okay, sure, straight up. Do you want me to
yeah,
mute the stream?
my-
I don't want to expose your inner fucking thoughts, but go ahead.
That's really charming.
Okay.
So
Pitbull
I'll
Nick,
tell
let's
you
hear it.
straight in a straightforward way, because I'm not. I don't believe I'm a disingenuous person.
Nope.
My vision for the country, and this is what I've been saying on the show for a long time. And you admitted that you don't comb through my show, you don't watch my show. I've been saying this for a long time. The demographic change in the United States and all these countries is baked in, like it's inevitable. These things are going to happen no matter what. By 2042, white people are going to be a minority in the United States. And this is depending on, what numbers you use. A lot of people have varying estimates. But the message on my show has never been, and therefore we have to remove people or I explicitly say how not only would those things be impractical, they would be immoral. The entire show is about if we can recognize that groups are different and we can recognize that groups are interacting with each other on an unprecedented level and scale with globalization, we're going to have to take into account some of these facts and how we govern a multiracial country as opposed to how we governed a monoracial country. I don't think you can have the same constitution that was created to govern this agrarian, colonial, British, Protestant country in 1776
Sure.
as you can governing an empire from coast to coast with 13% blacks and 13% Asians.
Sure.
and
Can you give me an
27%
example
Hispanics.
of something that would have to change there? The difference between ruling over a majority white population and a diverse one? I'm curious.
I'm not sure. I'm frankly, I'm not sure.
You don't talk at any point in the 360 episodes of White America Now. You've never talked about how you think things would have to change if we're going to have a more diverse society versus an all-white one. What do you talk about every night?
I've said, and this is one of the solutions that people have offered is perhaps you just have freedom of association, which says that if you have different groups, which have different characteristics and different values and different cultures, and this necessarily creates perhaps conflict or friction. If you're able to have freedom of association and you're able to have perhaps blacks want to organize in their own neighborhood and whites want to organize in their own neighborhood, then voluntarily people could separate themselves out. And that's one solution that's been proposed.
So
But
you'd be
I think
interested in like removing protected classes from the United States, the idea that an employer or a building owner.
No, nothing like that.
Well,
But
wait,
just
then what are
having
you saying?
freedom
We
of
already have
association.
free association in the United States. That's
No,
not,
we don't.
How
No,
do we?
don't at all,
How do we
actually.
not?
We have integrated schools, and you
Wait,
have.
I'm sorry. You could just
for
move to
example,
another.
Barack
Wait.
Obama.
You can move to another neighborhood and go to a different school, or you can send your kid to a private school. Can you not?
Sure, you can, but you can't look at an entire community and say that, well, this community is going to be for this people, and we want to have a vision for this community.
Oh wait, so you're saying
Basically,
that
it's,
so you do want to remove protected classes. You want to say you should be able to build a city and say like no black people allowed. You want to be able to discriminate.
You should be able to associate with who you want to associate.
Wait, hold
with.
on. I don't know why you can't just
And I
answer that
think
question.
that's-
Do you think that you should be able to build a city and discriminate against a certain kind of people, so like gay people or black people, for moving to that city? Should you be able to do
Yeah,
that?
I think everybody should be able to discriminate against everyone else. I
Okay,
think it
so
should
then
be-
you are in favor of removing protected classes from the United States. I don't know why you answered that in such a slippery way earlier. So what other
I don't know
what
why
other
that's
types of things?
slippery. I don't know
Well,
why
it was
that's
slippery
slippery.
because
Why
earlier
that's-
you said you didn't want to remove protected classes, but now that I've pushed you a little bit on the issue, now you admit you do want to remove protected classes. You think that a business owner should be able to say you can't work here because you're black, because you're a woman. Well, what's next? Are they going to come after the gamers next, Nick? Like, I don't know
didn't
where
say
that
that about
slippery
business.
slope ends.
I
Like,
didn't
that
say that
sounds
about
real
business.
scary to me.
I said that about residential areas. I don't know about businesses.
Oh,
Probably
so you think that
businesses.
okay? So if somebody made an all-white city where all whites can work, you think that a black person should be able to go over there and try to get a job, and they should be allowed to
Sure.
work in that city?
Sure, why not?
And the white business owner shouldn't be allowed to say you're not allowed to work here just because they're black?
Yeah, I don't think there are. Yeah, probably. The
What if
issue
all the
is this,
people in
and
that
this is
what if all the
why-
people in that city were opposed to that because they built their beautiful white Nicholas Fuentes white approved neighborhood and now they've got black people and Mexicans driving over commuting to work in it? You don't think that would impact the people of that community a little bit?
I don't know. That's kind of further down the line. I don't know.
Well, no, it's all directly related to
protected
protected classes. These are why protected classes exist, is to prevent these types of cyclical things.
Here's the thing. Here's the bottom line.
Yeah, okay. What's the bottom line, Nick?
I'm going to tell you, and this is why I think you're being disingenuous.
Okay, Nick.
I'm going to tell. I'm telling you honestly. I hope you
Take it to heart. I'm ready.
No, I hope you understand that I'm being sincere here, because
Okay.
this is something that, again, this is something I talk about on the show every day.
I'm sure.
There are no easy answers to this problem.
I agree with that.
The show is about acknowledging that we are going to face challenges moving ahead with this demographic change, and unless we can talk about the potential challenges, the potential downsides of what's going to happen, it is impossible to gauge what kind of a solution there is. For example, if I even posit, that we have freedom of association. And you're right. I think there are some. Issues with that. I don't think that's a perfect solution, and it might not even work out legally. But even an example like that, where I say, well, here's a possible thing that has been discussed among people like Jared Taylor, among others. Immediately, it's so you want to create this all-white, beautiful neighborhood and exclude black people. And do you see how quickly it jumps to that? And so
I mean, that's literally what you just told me. Wait, what's your? You literally just said that you want to create beautiful all-white neighborhoods that are allowed to discriminate against black people or Asian.
Did I say beautiful all-white neighborhoods, or did I say people should be able to have freedom of association? I think you heard beautiful all-white ethno-state neighborhood. That's not what I said. I said,
well, of course not, because we have to be very careful with what we say. But realistically, if we look at the status of capital that exists in the United States, if we look where most of the wealth and the money is, we know who are going to create these types of neighborhoods. It's not going to be black people en masse that are going to be moving out to wealthy neighborhoods and creating their own neighborhoods, right? It's going to be it's going to be white flight, right? It's going to be white people taking their money, locking themselves in their neighborhood. But I mean, I guess that's kind of what you would want, Nick.
It'll be Jews and Chinese. See, but that's the problem, is you automatically assume the worst. I'm over here and you would know this if you watch my show. I'm over here every day.
All right, I feel like I'm missing out on some real good shit, but okay.
See, very, very nasty. I'm trying to be sincere with you. I'm trying to be straight with you here.
Oh, man.
On the show
that's so
day,
strange. Why would I be nasty if you call me a pedophile multiple times? It's so interesting. I'm not sure.
It
must be the inner liberal in me, I guess.
You're kind of jumping in the middle of the story after you said people should commit violence against us. So I think that's a little bit unfair.
Well, I mean, I think I said violence could be justified.
I came out swinging with that one out of a clear blue sky. But here, so again, I'm going to try and reason with you.
Sure. Can we summarize this too? Like, I didn't want to spend the whole night talking to Booger Neck again. All right, I got other things to do.
Such a nasty guy. So this is again what I talk about on the show, which is demographic change is going to cause problems. You don't have to be a white nationalist to believe that. You may even still be in favor of demographic change, in spite of the challenges that it presents. But the problem is that in society, people who present these challenges or acknowledge them or discuss them, they're shut out, they're deplatformed, whatever, and we're not going to be able to address them in a coherent and optimal way if we're not able to discuss the kinds of problems. And I think this is what the debate was about the Christchurch shooter. If the solution is always we're going to attack and commit violence against the people discussing the problem, well, okay, lots of luck, man. We'll see if this multiracial, whatever empire works out in the next 25 years when you've got Israelis and Palestinians and Hindus and Pakistanis and all these different groups working together, fighting for the same resources and services. Hey, lots of luck. We tried to say maybe we should try and talk about solutions, figure some of these things out.
I mean, if you've ever been to a major city in the United States before, there are a lot of places where this worked really well. I acknowledge that there are definitely problems. Yeah, really. Yeah, believe it or not, you could go to
Chicago works really well, man.
I mean, San Francisco seems to be working pretty well. Los Angeles works pretty well.
Are you joking, man? Are you joking about San Francisco where there's shit in the streets and needles everywhere? They're doing stuff about this all the time. And Los Angeles.
Holy shit. Wait, so if there are any problems that exist in a city, damn, well, you must really fucking hate white people then, because holy fuck, we shoot up a fuck ton of meth and shit all over the fucking Midwest. It's like a huge problem.
Do you see the moving the goalposts?
I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm just saying that no other person in the world, if you were to say, do you think that places like San Francisco are like the tech capital of the world, are very successful places? You go, oh, well, no, of course not. They've got problems with homelessness. What an absurd assertion. Come on. Of course San Francisco, I'm not moving any goalposts whatsoever. I said that these cities are doing. I'm saying that you can go to these cities. I'm saying that you can go to these cities. I'm saying that you can go to these. All the shit in the streets. Nick, have you been to San Francisco? Believe it or not, there are plenty of streets that you could go to that don't have shit on them. I know that might be hard for you to believe. Maybe you don't go into those places. Maybe there are too many brown people there. You don't feel comfortable. I'm not entirely sure. But for the most part, these cities are working pretty well. Do they have problems? Of course. Now, does diversity as a whole have a lot of problems that have to be overcome? Absolutely. I totally acknowledge that.
That's a neo-Nazi
no, it's not.
view.
Because the difference between me and you is that at the end of the day, I don't say, hey, diversity has problems. I'm not really comfortable with interracial couples being shown in movies, right? My prescription is generally more, hey, diversity does have problems. Let's figure out ways where we can all get along with each other so that we can live in a wonderful world, a world that could be so great that even a man with the last name Fuentes could delude himself into thinking he would qualify for the very white ethno-state that he advocates for. That's all I'm saying, Nick.
I don't advocate for a white ethno-state.
Of course you don't, buddy.
No,
I'm sorry, not ethno-states, ethno-neighborhoods.
I'm Latino.
A very proud one at that, I'm sure. Okay.
That's right, it's true. It's in my
okay.
blood.
What do we got?
Real quick, what did you say, Soph?
I just said that's a lot of straw mans there. He never said that he's against having interracial relationships in movies. He's just not comfortable with that being some sort of agenda being pushed and weirdly intentionally
That's true.
encouraged.
Okay, yeah. I do think
that's
it's very weird. When I see
problem.
interracial relationships and it makes me uncomfortable, I definitely don't think about that for half a second. Okay.
This is the problem is I say, well, I'm not in favor of white ethno-state, and here's why. And you say...
White ethno... I'm sorry, I qualify that. White ethno neighborhoods, not ethno-states. I'm sorry, I did misspeak there. Ethno neighborhoods. Okay.
And I'll say, for example, yeah, I have a problem with interracial relationships being promoted. And you're like, yeah, this guy's morally against interracial relationships, which I said explicitly I wasn't. It's just so much disingenuous.
So wait, so on that
stuff.
clip that got leaked, were you compared having sex with a dog to a white woman having sex with a black man? You don't think that's a little different?
I didn't compare that.
You didn't say both of them were forms of degeneracy?
I'll give you the context for that.
Oh, okay, sure. What is the context? I'm curious.
So we were at the Leadership Institute. This was like last year. This like gay conservative think tank, and we were in the basement there, and we were having a conversation. We were talking about a lot of issues, and I was playing devil's advocate on a few. And in this particular one, I was arguing my sincere position.
Okay.
And so she starts recording me, obviously, to do a hit piece. It wasn't like this was part of some broader conversation. If you watch the clip,
that is really fucked up. I do feel for you there. I hate it when people film me and I accidentally compare fucking black people to fucking dogs. Oh shit, I hate it when that happens.
No, but she films me and she says, "Hey Nick, do you think having sex with a black man is the same as having sex with a dog?" So you say I compared it, which is obviously disingenuous. It's not like I said these two things are comparable. Somebody said an outrageous question, which then I said absolutely not. I said I think both are probably wrong. I would say both are probably degenerate, but they're not the same. And that's a 5-second clip. That was like a 30-minute conversation. So,
sure. I'm curious. Why would a white person having sex with a black person be degenerate, Nick?
I think it's something that's bad for the children.
To have mixed race
ideology.
Do you hold this against your own parents a lot, or?
If you look at the data, and I know you're a big fan of the data. If you look at the data about mixed race couples, and it depends on which different combinations you look at, you'll find all kinds of varieties of higher rates of things like mental illness, drug abuse, dropping out of high school. There's a lot of problems associated with this. Also, higher rates of divorce, higher rates of domestic abuse. Again, it varies depending on which combinations you look at. And I did a whole show about this. I did a show about this called What's the Deal with Mixed Marriages or something on America First. And I did a whole 60 minutes laying out the data, laying out the case, because my ideology has always been centered around the family. This is why I'm not a neoliberal individualist. I believe that you got to have strong men, you got to have good women, you got to have children, and the marriages have to be strong and healthy. And so my only opposition in interracial relationships comes from the fact that it is not the most conducive pairing that you can have to have children that are going to have the best possible upbringing. So I think there's all kinds of things which people should not, if there's incompatibility, that people should not get married. If people have different religions, if people have different political ideologies, it should be based on compatibility before anything else. But I know people that have...
What if it was possible that a change in societal attitudes towards interracial relationships might change the outcomes of these interracial relationships? Do you think that might be possible?
No, I don't see how that follows.
You don't see how So you think that the status of interracial relationships today in America would be looked down upon the same way that they would 100 years ago?
Oh, I'm not saying that. I don't know.
Okay, so then it sounds to me like we could, as a prescriptive action for society, say, hey, we ought to be a little bit more endearing towards interracial relationships, like the ones that produced both you and me, Booger Nick. Maybe we should be a little bit more kind to those, and maybe the outcomes will be better. Because as you argued earlier, when we isolate and demonize certain groups of people, sometimes they end up being shitty people, or bad outcomes are a result of that, which I do agree with.
Here's the problem with that thinking, pedophile Steve. The problem with that thinking is that it presupposes that all of these issues derive from discrimination, prejudice, bigotry. Could it simply be that interracial relationships don't work because different races might not be compatible because they come from different cultures, because there is such a stark racial divide in the country? Now, you're right. Maybe in 100 years, when we're all cappuccino colored, and I know, none of that matters to anybody, right? In 100 years, when we're all cappuccino colored, we're deracinated, we have no heritage or ancestry. Maybe you can say that, if there even is mixing, we can say that these sorts of racial differences will be so small and so mitigated that it won't cause issues with compatibility. But as it stands right now, and we live in the present time, we find that these relationships don't work out. So I would be hard-pressed to look at a child who's a child of divorce, and the divorce could have been avoided if you found a more compatible partner, and say, well, we were just trying to change society, man. We had this prescriptive thing where we were trying to make racial attitudes better, and now your parents are divorced, and now your life is.
Well, I mean, there are plenty of interracial relationships where the parents aren't divorced. There are plenty of uniracial relationships, of heterogeneous relationships. I don't know how you say it. Same race relationships where the parents are divorced. So it seems to me that interracial relationships. What?
You're talking about rates, though. You're talking about rates, though.
So the rates are probably, but the rates might be worse for interracial things. But to go ahead and jump on the train and say that's due to some biological or genetic incompatibility.
I don't think I said bio. I think I said cultural. Did you hear what I said? Did I say biological?
If you said cultural, what does that have to do with race?
You don't think race has a cultural component? You don't think black culture?
Do you think that Koreans that are born in LA are more similar to people in South Korea or other white people in LA?
Well, it depends on who their parents are. Were they raised by Korean immigrants? Because if that's the case, then they come from a different kind of a home.
I agree with what you just said. So it has nothing to do with race. It has to do with how their parents raised them. Okay, cool. We're on the same page.
Yes, which is part of culture, which is part of race.
Which has nothing to do with race. No, you just said it had to do with if their parents raised them in a cultural way, which I agree with. But this idea that a Korean is intrinsically geared towards being a certain way, or that an African is geared.
I don't think I said that. Again,
what do we disagree? Hold on, wait. What do we disagree with, Nick?
You're trying to extrapolate things which I'm not even saying.
Nick, you literally said that it would be better maybe if certain races were together with other races. Now you're trying to back that up and saying maybe it would be better if certain cultures were better with certain cultures. Obviously, I'm not going to do this. Is called a Mod and Bailey, right? You're doing the old bait and switch on me, slippery Nick. I really appreciate it. Well, it is absolutely is, Nick. Because if you would simply have said with your argument, people from two wildly different cultures probably shouldn't marry. I mean, yeah, that's pretty self-evident. Well, no, that's absolutely what you just said, Nick. I'm sorry that I kind of took it to its logical conclusion, but go ahead. You can try and rephrase it if you need to. Go for it.
Such a nasty guy.
No, it's okay. Do you like this format better where we can't actually see you so that you can eat your boogers when we're not actually watching you on camera? Does it feel better for you?
Yeah, and you can share screenshots of 15-years in their bikinis.
Yep, that's absolutely what I do all the time, Nick.
That is exactly what you do, pedophile. But anyway, let me explain to you what I'm trying to say.
I think you'd welcome me talking more, or maybe you're... Never, go ahead.
Okay, pedophile. So what I'm trying to explain here is, and you keep derailing it with, again, all these straw man arguments.
Not derailing it at all, Nick.
Misdirections. You are, and again with the interruptions, derailing. Here's the difference. When you're talking about interracial, for example, in America, a black person, let's say a black person in a relationship with a white person. It's obviously they're coming from different races. Do you deny that different races in America have different cultures? Do you deny that different races, for example, people from a different country, from a differerent race, have a different culture than people in America, if they're raised in a different home? So I think, yeah.
You asked me a question. Hold on. You just asked me a question.
I've got something to say.
I'm not allowed to respond to the question. Was that rhetorical?
No, I'm not finished with my point.
Okay. Go ahead, Nick. Got to layer at least 6 or 7 more arguments in there. Go ahead.
You're such a chiacchierone. That's Italian, by the way. So here's the difference. Like, for example, I would say that I wouldn't get in a relationship with a Southerner. I wouldn't. I said this on my show before. I wouldn't say that, Northern and Southern people should never get together. In the same way that I don't believe that, different people of different races should never get together. But I think generally it's advised against because, again, it's on the basis of compatibility. And that's one part of it. That's one.
Sure. So I mean, what you just said is absolutely not true, though. The idea that a race is intrinsic to a culture. If I were to ask somebody, hey, or somebody were to say, I want you to go out on a date with my friend. I go, oh, cool. Well, tell me a little bit about her. And they say oh, well, she's South Korean. Okay, that doesn't tell me fuck all about that person. You would have to say way more. I literally know, unless I guess I have a fetish for Asians, that doesn't really describe that person at all. Yeah. Even when you go as far as to say, hold on, Booger Nick, go mine for some nose gold. Okay, well, I get my point out. I know it's really hard for you to let me finish a single point. Even when you say earlier, Nick, that you wouldn't date a Southerner, well, what is a Southerner? Would I date somebody from rural Louisiana? Probably not. Would I date somebody that lives in downtown Austin? Probably. These are both Southerner kind of people, but I mean, these are very different people. They're both in Southern areas. Now, do you mean people that live in rural areas, maybe, when you say Southerner? I don't know, Nick. It's really hard when people like you try to say everybody of a certain race acts a certain way, or everybody of a certain country, or everybody of a certain... Well, even implying that there are these... Even implying that there... How did you imply that? Well, oh my God, wait. When Booger Nick says two people of different races shouldn't date because they tend to have different cultures, how could he possibly imply that there are intrinsic differences between these people of different races? I don't know, Nick. That's a real tough one for me. Maybe we can spend a YouTube video putting together that train of thought because, man, that's so disconnected there. I don't know how anybody could ever arrive at that conclusion.
Disconnected. It is completely.
It's totally disconnected.
Not taking what I'm saying and
I must not be. It's just, it's going right over my head, Nick.
Ideas. No. No. It's the same thing that left-wing people always do. They assume that, you're out to get people of color. You have these secret beliefs. What I'm saying, I think, is really not all that complicated. What I'm saying is that people should get married based on compatibility. And
I agree with that. Sure. Why do we have to talk about race with that?
Race tends to be something that is polarizing in the country, obviously. And if you look at it even on politics, what was it, like 97% of black people voted for Barack Obama? I mean, so of course there is something that is cultural there. Of course there is something that is perhaps incompatible with certain people. So I think that you're trying to make it out that I think black people are all the same and blah, blah, blah. I mean, these extrapolations you're making, they simply don't follow. It's disingenuous.
I mean, it just seems like a bad, when you're willing to tell me right now that there are wait, you acknowledge that a lot of Asians, even specific Asians, like a lot of Korean Americans or a lot of Vietnamese Americans are different from one another, right? You agree with that?
Correct.
Then it sounds like it's probably not a good heuristic to decide whether or not two people should be in a relationship with one another. As somebody that now lives in LA, I probably have a whole lot more in common with an LA Korean-born girl than I would with a girl that lives in the country of Montana, or like the rural areas of Montana or Iowa.
Would you have more in common with an LA-born white girl than an LA-born Korea girl? Probably. Right?
I mean, it really. I would need more information, to be honest. A lot of my friends down here are Korean that play video games all day, that do music all day.
Don't even answer the question honestly, because
I don't answer because I don't have enough information. I know LA girls down here that have no interest in music, that have no interest in video games, that have no interest in anime. Like, there's no way that I can answer that question.
You're being disingenuous and you're playing dumb.
How am I being disingenuous? Nick, if you watch my stream, I hang out with plenty of Korean girls all the fucking time that live in LA. These are people that I share a lot in common with. There are also some LA white girls that I hang out with, but I would need way more information to know if I have more in common with an LA Korean girl or an LA white girl, because just that information alone tells me literally fuck all about the person.
That's great. Yeah, we're all, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, if you actually stepped outside of your house every now and then, maybe you'd see it. But I don't know, maybe you live in one of those great white ethno neighborhoods, so you don't see a lot of other people of color around you. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. So,
I know I am.
So here's the problem, is that identity is something that is complex, and we have identities which have different degrees of salience. And you yourself said this earlier on the stream. You said that identity is a complex thing.
Yep.
And so for you to say that, well, the idea that perhaps a black person, a white person having less compatibility than a white person and a white person, I think it's basically ignoring the fundamental assumption, which is that we have sort of these degrees of compatibility. For example, you would say that an Italian and a Spanish person come from two different countries, right? Two different ethnicities. But these are both Mediterranean, Catholic, European countries, right? You would probably say that, well, Italians and Spanish are different. You would say that an Italian and a Spanish person are more alike than an Italian and somebody from China, somebody born and raised in China. Because, again, you can look at a number of different factors, but I think we could both agree that we could assume that on average, unless we're talking about an individual and we have all the information, this person in China happens really like video games and like they speak English and they like music.
Wait, did you really just talk this long to tell me that somebody born and raised in China is going to be a lot different than somebody born and raised in America?
Yeah, because clearly you don't.
Do you think I'm going to disagree with this, Nick?
Clearly you don't understand this concept.
I don't. I'm totally lost here. You literally started off saying identity is a complex thing, and now you're trying to boil it down to a racial identity. You're full of contradictions there, Nick. Dichotomy Nick, at it again. Slippery Nick trying to slip through the cracks of his horrible fucking arguments.
So you have to do this because you know that you're wrong. You know that everybody.
I mean, like, you open, so like, you know that people of different races aren't compatible, right? If I take somebody born in China and compare them with somebody born in America, they're totally different. Why do you appeal to geography there if the race is so different, Nick?
This is what you do.
Go ahead. What do I do?
You say, this is exactly what you do. You say, oh, you really believe? I would think that people in China are different than people in Italy. That's so reductive and simple. Okay, Slippery Nick. And you do that. You do that because you know that you're wrong on the point.
Why am I wrong? You're literally proving my argument, Nick.
No. You know that entirely validates that if you look at different races, they are less compatible than within races.
I'm agreeing with what you're saying. No, I agree with you. You're making my argument beautifully for me. In order to know if a Chinese person is a lot different than you, looking at maybe where they're born is a really important way to determine that, because just knowing their race doesn't tell you that much information. I totally agree with your argument, Nick. Absolutely. Knowing where somebody is born would give you a decent amount of information about the things that they believe. Cool.
Yeah,
all right. Do we have anything else, Ralph, or can we actually move on to other callers rather than some guy trying to leech a couple followers from me? Or
leeching followers.
I mean, like, I'm being honest. I charge a lot of money for this type of exposure, man. You're getting a lot of shit for free right now, okay? So you better be fucking grateful. I'm a capitalist. I'm okay to deal with this shit because I'm making a lot of money off it too. I'm being honest with you, man.
Now, incidentally, would you guys be down for something like this next Friday?
Fuck no.
No.
Hell no. Jesus Christ.
That would have been a lot of fun.
It's
No,
better,
we
it's
did
better to
4
be-
hours yesterday, and how long tonight? It's enough already. I said the last time I wasn't going to debate this guy when he came out with a bullshit statistic, and that was the first argument that he made. He spent a whole month compiling a Google Doc, and the first argument he makes in the second debate is based on a lie.
Oh
I said,
my
I'm
God, that
never
was
debating
so
this guy
painful.
again.
We spent
I said,
2
I'm never debating
hours
this guy
where he
again.
couldn't
And
admit
then
that
here
the
we go,
Hart-Celler
and
Immigration Act was the will of the people, because he claims that he has some divine knowledge about what people actually. Nah, fuck. I don't want to go into all these arguments again. I already.
don't wanna go
I
into this
suffered through that.
because you're
If
wrong.
anybody wants, they can read. I fucking made an 18-page fucking Google Doc. You can hammer through that shit if you don't believe me. There is no way I'm
There it
gonna
is.
deal with
Yeah,
fucking
Google
slippery.
Doc.
I don't have the. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not the young man I was when I debated you 2 years ago. Okay, it's hard for me to keep up with that fucking shit. Oh my God. Your powers have doubled. Ben, talking to people like you, I'm pretty sure it fucking is actually worse for my health. So maybe you get more powerful when you do this shit. I just get fucking cancer cells.
Good.
Are you wishing harm on me?
No, of course not. I would never do that.
Why did you say good? When you said good, do you mean like in a virtuous sense?
Good that it's good for my health. Big
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I'm gonna need
All
it.
right.
I'm gonna need it because we have all these 4-foot-tall pedophiles out there.
Gotcha.
hunting
Good,
Nazis. I
good.
gotta
So
be
kind of
careful.
like it's good for Catholic
Gotta be
priests that rape
careful.
little kids as long as it feels good for them. Like that kind of good,
You know,
Nick? Is that what
you
we're
can say
talking about?
that. You can say that, but
I did
you
say it.
still endorse child pornography. So,
Oh, well,
I mean,
you know,
It's
okay.
kind of hilarious how it's always the deflection, but I mean, everybody knows that you are a pedophile and you do support child pornography.
Man, it's so strange that all those calls to the FBI, all those internet hit pieces, man, and for some reason they still didn't catch me, Nick. I don't know, man.
Yeah, I extrapolated it.
Oh,
you know?
oh,
I
gotcha.
took
Well,
the
as long
liberty
as you
for
extrapolate, I guess
took
you
it to its
and
logical
it
conclusion.
must have been all of those arguments that I made
pictures of
against like
underage
actually
girls,
having
I
sex with
extrapolated.
minors. You know, maybe all those arguments that I made. I guess you extrapolated from that I must be a
and
pedophile somehow.
administering
But
ethical child porn, and you're giving this immunity to pedophiles, but you want
absolutely.
Nazis
How
to
did you
check
know
out.
that?
We
That's
all,
exactly what I said.
I extrapolated it
fuck.
from what you said, big guy. Yeah.
honestly, I'm okay. You got me there. I thought that I privated the
I
video
did.
on my
I did
in my
getcha.
channel that
I
was
did
titled
getcha.
"Immunity for All Pedophiles." I thought that I
got-
deleted that video, but you must have screenshotted it before.
I
That's
got
my
you just
bad,
like
Nick.
I did.
You got me
Just
again
like I
there.
did last night. I did. I get you every time. I got you the first time.
Every
the second
time.
I got you on train
And you're
wrecks.
getting me the
I
fourth.
got you
This must be
now,
the fourth
pedophile.
time now, right?
Gotcha.
Okay,
Yeah.
what, Ralph, are we done? Can we please, dear God, fucking get
Yeah,
me
you
out
got
of
anything
here?
else? All right, thank you, Nick. I appreciate you stopping in, man. Have a good
Yeah,
one.
man. Thanks for having me. Sorry for busting your balls. I was like, earlier. You know what I'm talking about.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, take it easy, everybody. Bye bye.
Wow.
Okay. And
Soph,
I
do
know
you have
some
any-
people in the chat were like, Ralph, is he still alive? I tend to just sit back and just, I mean, you guys didn't really need any help. Just
So
to,
you're the guest
Soph-
here.
yeah, I
Any
was gonna
thoughts
say-
on what you just listened
yeah, I was
to?
gonna say, Soph was trying to interject a couple times. Any thoughts on that? I guess it was almost an hour.
Yeah, geez, man. Well, it was quite entertaining, and I think Nick articulated himself much better than I did. Yeah.
Any thoughts on any of the topics or anything you wanted to get in there on that though, or
I,
just gonna-
Destiny kept interrupting and strawmanning him, which I was displeased with.
God damn it. The lefties were right. Liberals will side with fascists. Fuck me. I didn't want to admit it, but I'm watching it happen in real time.
Are you saying you're disappointed in Destiny? I thought you were about to say that.
No, I mean that's one of the reasons why lefties get so mad at me for being liberal in the broad sense is that lefties always say that in times of great crisis, liberals will always side with fascists to defend their own entrenched interests, and it seems to be true when I watch how people in the center will tend to drift towards like more kind of like I guess like fascist thought whenever they're threatened. So,
But to be fair, Destiny, you
Mm-hmm.
will also tolerate things when it's beneficial to you.
what does that have to do with what I just said?
You said that people are. Wait. No, I'm saying that you also will tolerate things when it's beneficial to you.
Yeah, I don't think fascism is ever beneficial to me. I think that's a really short.
No, I'm saying though that you do tolerate people calling for violence.
No,
but
I don't
you
actually.
call it-
It's actually something that I
Do-
fight with
do
my.
you-
Oh, wait, hold on.
but do
Wait,
you-
what kind are you talking
Sure.
about? Sam?
Huh?
So just in general, like when I have lefties, I'm like, this is really annoying to me because I hate getting attacked from both sides of this. I do not tolerate fucking lefties in my audience that talk about fucking like murdering like landlords and eating fucking rich people all the
Yeah,
time.
but you associate with people who do.
I mean, I try not to. I think the most left person that I associate with is Hasanabi, who I don't think is like he's like a reformist, and I don't think
Well,
he's a full-on
I-
socialist. I don't associate
actually-
with hard left people. If you go and read my subreddit, my left community fucking hates me because I refuse to talk to left-leaning people all the fucking time. I get roasted for them all the time, like Richard Wolff or all these people. I like it specifically do not talk to or associate with these types of people.
Well, yeah, but I messaged him about something because part of the thing that got some of this ball rolling is that we played video of Hassan's Discord, and namely people saying that Soph should die because she has a Gab account. Would you? And these are people who moderate
That's
his.
basically how this whole
Discord.
thing started. There was a call on Hassan's Discord, and they were musing about would it be okay to murder Soph, basically, because
I mean, so if Hassan himself, so Hassan and me have had.
No, Hassan himself did not say that.
Oh, no. I'm just saying that if Hassan himself said that, I would call him out for it. I do this all the time. Me and him have disagreed on a number of issues in the past, and we have gotten into big fights over things. If he was actually doing this, I would have huge problems. I mean, I'm not going to disavow another content creator because of stuff that goes on in their Discord. I mean, like if Hassan is like
moderators.
I mean, that's pretty shitty. If they're really doing it, I would say that's bad. I wouldn't tolerate it.
I've got the audio if you want to listen to it.
Why would I want to listen? I mean, I believe you. I believe that people probably said that. Sure. I'm not saying I don't believe that it happened. I mean,
will you do anything to call it out?
I mean, I'll say right now, I've said several times over this debate and in the past that like trying to critically hold, teenagers to their political beliefs, I think is really fucking stupid. And I would extend that to this as well.
I don't think these are teenagers. I think these are.
No. As Soph being a teenager, that like saying that we should kill teenagers for their political beliefs is really, really dumb. But yeah, I mean, like Hassan is saying that apparently, I don't know what Hassan did to his mods because I don't keep up with everybody else's Discord. He's saying he disavows his mods, like that's what he's saying, but
there's still mods though.
Okay, I can't. I don't know. I really can't say anything.
Do you feel comfortable in associating with people that are tolerant of that sort of talk going on in their communities?
Half of his community fucking hates me, dog. I mean, like if you watch his,
I just remember you retweeting something along the lines of, if you're a content creator, don't sit back while your fan base runs wild with racism, sexism, or any other kind of bullshit. You can time them out, you can ban them, renounce them, or not create content that enables them. You set the tone of your community.
Which is what I do, yeah. And I tell other people to do it as well.
Do you not hold it? So you would tell your friends to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I tell that to them all the time. But like, I don't like cut these.
What if they don't do it?
Then it's really bad and I'll continue to roast them over it. And then if it becomes egregious enough, then I would cut them out completely. But like, for instance, like that podcast that we were on last night with Fuentes, with Trainwrecks, I think that he has a lot of problems managing his community too. Those guys break hard right. And maybe Hassan does with his community as well. But like, I don't just like completely stop associating with these people whatsoever. I would continue to call them out for it because
you cut communication with a small person in your community, right? Irish laddie person, right?
Okay.
Now I would just assert though, like,
wait. Why do you think I did that?
Because he was sending creepy texts to people in your
Sure.
Discord.
So this is like way different. This is something that's happening in my community directly, not another content creator's community.
He's platforming people that are calling for the death of a 16-year-old girl for having a Gab account.
Well, yeah, but the difference here.
Do you not see that is a very serious thing?
No. I'm not saying whether it's serious or not. I'm saying that the accountability for me feels a little bit differently. If stuff is happening on my Discord server, then I will police that content, but I don't feel comfortable policing other people's Discord servers. I'll tell them what I think they should do.
These people are also on your Discord server, by the way.
Oh, I mean, if you point out that people on my Discord server are saying we should murder a 14-year-old, those people generally get banned. If you send me screenshots or whatever, then yeah, I would ban those people.
Yeah, sure.
Like I said, and I'm not holding this to you, but like a lot of people on the right will do this thing where they group all of us on the left together. So it's very annoying sometimes when I have to talk to people on the right that are trying to make me answer for crimes on the left. And then when I go back to my stream later, everybody on the left is like, Destiny, you fucking sellout capitalist fuck. Like, you're not pure enough for us. Like, you sit there and you say,
I will.
Wait. Let me say this. That happens the other way around too, though, right?
I mean, it might, but like, I get hard roasted by people in my politics chat. If you go to my Discord or my politics chat, most of the people in there fucking hate me because a lot of my community is fucking lefties right now. And I don't mean that in the American sense. I mean, they're fucking commies and socialists. So a lot of those fuckers hate me right now. And I'm trying very hard to move them off of my fucking shit because I don't like those fuckers. But like, that's like, there is no like understanding that I implicitly support like that shit in my chat. I don't. Like, I come down very hard on that shit. Fucking, we don't even use like retarded and autistic and shit in my Discord anymore. And I actually try really hard. Here's something else that a lot of people get pissed off. I try really hard to have like representation in my chat too. There's a guy called X Skills Me in my community that people fucking hate, and I have multiple conversations with him. There's another guy called Laldemar that I advocate to keep around, even though he's like borderline fucking race realist now, because I think that having equal viewpoints represented is good. So like, I really don't have this like extreme lefty community where we all circle jerk about how much we want to kill everybody all the time. I just get annoying when that perception is getting me.
Go ahead, Soph.
Go ahead, sorry.
How closely do you monitor your own subreddit?
Pretty closely-ish. I mean, what do you mean?
Well, because there were, some threads on there that people were doing the same thing as in Hassan's chat, talking about killing me, talking about, deplatforming me, mass flagging me on Patreon, all that sort of thing.
I mean, deplatforming or mass flagging are different than like being violent towards or like actually like
yeah,
killing.
But they also were being violent.
I mean, if people in there are making like death threats, then I mean, like even if I didn't care about it ideologically, I would ban those people because it could get my subreddit in trouble, right? Yeah, I'll always ban people like that are literally making fucking death threats and shit. If you have links of that, of people making death threats towards you in my subreddit, you can always shoot me that shit and I'll fucking ban them. Yeah, fuck, that's creepy as fuck. I don't know why the fuck you would do that to a 14-year-old. It's really weird.
But you'll associate with people that do.
Yeah.
No, I generally don't, but I might associate with people whose people in their communities do. I feel like that's just too many.
One of the people that was rationalizing it was Izzy, who I believe has been on your platform before, correct?
I might have talked to Izzy one time, but generally no, I don't platform Izzy. Usually Izzy is on other people's shows with me, so like on the Raw show or on the Trainwreck show. But I'm also not aware of Izzy making those comments. I don't know if they have or not.
Well, I can link, like I said, Izzy was one of the two mods in the chat that.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Cut out Flamenco.
Izzy was one of the two mods in the chat that was doing.
Sure. Okay.
Now let me ask you this.
I do think, real quick, and then just to say, I do think it's a little bit weird that, like, I mean, you can argue that these people did that and it's really bad. I'm wondering if any of these people would try to use the same hyperbole argument that Soph used earlier to defend her comments about Muslims. Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't, but.
And by the way, I just wanted to say, sorry.
Hold on. Let me ask you this now, and I have a couple other topics I want to do. Maybe take a few callers, and then we'll wrap up. But now, can you see why or how we were talking earlier? We're debating the morality of seeing Nick Fuentes get assaulted, or is it okay to beat up a Nazi? Can you see how that might progress to killing your political opponents?
It's possible, sure.
Okay.
But again, like I do think that there are like the thing that's
kind of a slippery slope, right?
Well,
like,
it's not no, it's not a slippery slope. So like here's the problem, okay? And I'm going to use a word that's going to trigger the fuck out of your whole audience, and I'm sorry for doing this, right? But when we argue about this, we're arguing from a position of extreme privilege, or I assume you are. At the end of the day, none of these things really bother me. Like I'm wealthy, I'm white, I'm male, I'm fine. No matter what, even if fucking climate change happens, I'll just move inland. I'll always be okay because of my position in society. However, right? So we talk about like, is it okay to kill political opponents? Blah 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 blah, right? Oh well, that's horrible. We can talk about this as like enlightened white thinkers, who doesn't really matter at the end of the day. However, let's say, for instance, you're a guy who is finally able to leave their job because the Affordable Care Act gave you affordable health insurance that otherwise wasn't available to you, right? So I've personally known people that were slaves to their fucking jobs because they couldn't leave, because if they did, they'd lose their health insurance, right? So these are people who are looking at like potentially like the end of their lives. Maybe they'll lose the coverage they've purchased. They won't be able to find more. They could actually face like death or like severe bodily harm, diabetic neuropathy, other sorts of things, right? If you were talking to somebody like this, I feel like you would be a lot less comfortable saying, well, hold on, dude. Do you really want to be violent against these Republicans that are voting out your healthcare when this person is literally facing like bodily harm as a result of their legislation?
Okay, so I do have super chats. We have a few callers. I see Brittany Venti's in the green room too. I don't know if you want me to bring her on.
No, I don't want to. Dude, I already tolerated fucking. No, you can do it. Or here, I don't want to tell like Soph. I don't want to tell Soph what she can do. I'd rather leave before she comes on. Like dealing with that shit is like that's way too. Fuentes was enough for one night.
Okay. So, let me look at my little notepad here. President Trump, good or bad for America? I'll start with you, Soph.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't. I'm not.
That wasn't in the list. So, no, I'm just kidding.
I'm not too far into the into his policies. I mean, the wall would be cool if he didn't have to seize property. If it was instead just buying it and he wasn't using. If it was funded by donations instead of involuntary tax money, I'd be for the wall. I'm not really for all the pro-Israel stuff. Yeah, that's as far as it goes for me.
Destiny, you can respond to that.
Do you really have to guess? I mean, I'm not the biggest Trump fan. Obviously, I'm probably ideologically opposed to him on almost every single issue.
What's the worst thing about Trump?
I think the two worst things that the Republican Party has done probably has to do with like our relationships around the world, specifically related to pulling out of the JSAT, whatever the Iran deal is called, whatever that framework was, the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Pulling out of that, I think, was one of the worst things that he did. And then probably pulling the Affordable Care Act, getting rid of the mandate that's going to cause that to collapse. I would say that those are probably the two worst things, and then maybe like Supreme Court justices.
All right. Now, so if you mentioned Israel, And I guess we could make this a topic too. What problems do you have with the United States and their support of the Israeli state and Benjamin Netanyahu?
Well, there's a lot of unjustified violence going on over there, and I don't really support such a large amount of money being dumped into any other country's I guess government.
So you would be in favor of just abolishing all foreign aid?
Yes.
What about you, Destiny?
I mean, I'm not going to go full non-interventionalist. Like, I would expect Soph as an ANCAP, right? You typically aren't a fan of foreign intervention. I think that America's like obsession with Israel is really fucking weird. Or at the very least, I don't think we're usually honest with what we do overseas. I don't really think there's some like grand Jewish conspiracy. I think it's more that like America will be fiercely allegiant to that people, to those people in that part of the world, which is why we're allegiant to like the Gulf states, for instance, or why we were allegiant to like Saddam Hussein in Iraq. But yeah, I mean, my biggest problem with America's foreign intervention is that we're usually not honest about it. Like, well, why are we here, right? Yeah, I mean, Israel's not about to be overran by fucking Palestinians anytime soon. No, Hamas or Hezbollah is going to change that. So, like, yeah, I don't know. I just wish America would be more honest about its foreign intervention, and I'm not generally a fan of a lot of the violent shit that we do overseas, because a lot of it has a lot of unintended horrible shit that fucks with everybody. Like, for instance, the 2013 Syrian refugee crisis.
All right, let me read these. L. Ron Humperdinck says, Destiny okay with a woman fighting for him? Then he says, checks out. Victor Carbino says, Destiny asks Sargon which Hadith collections he's read. Which have you read, Destiny?
Fuck no, I don't study fucking Islam. I mean, read the Quran. Fuck that.
Regat says, Destiny sounds like a total gaylord.
Nice.
Fenrir Hansa says, Islam is not a language. Hail white Sharia. Armchair Warrior says Islam equals choice. This is we're way back. I apologize for that. Armchair Warrior says Islam equals choice. You could drop it anytime you want. Language is not a religion. The two can't be compared. Jay says everything Destiny is saying about religion applies to political ideology. What would you say about that?
I mean, like, you can make strong arguments for it. This would be a really nuanced argument. So my general feeling is that religion is something that can be personally practiced that doesn't necessarily have to impact other people. But I would argue that political ideologies, assuming you vote, necessarily impact other people. So for instance, if I wanted to, I could practice some religion personally, privately. And when I say that privately, I still mean like with a community and whatnot. But I could still vote in ways that don't necessarily harm other people. However, if I am of a certain political ideology that votes a certain way, I could necessarily be causing harm to other people. That's what I would say is the difference between those two things. But I do agree that it gets like pretty hairy between the two, and you could argue in different ways for both depending on how you practice your religion. So for instance, Christians that practice extreme form of Christian law, or Muslims that practice extreme forms of like Sharia law, or Buddhists that kill people, or fucking you Jewish people that whatever, Christians that chop off foreskins from dicks and shit. Like, yeah, I mean, like there's a lot of people that could do bad things as a result of their religion, but I don't think it necessarily is entailed, because religion is such like an all-encompassing, complicated thing, whereas political stuff can be boiled down a lot more to like how you actually vote at the end of the day, you know.
L. Ron Humperdinck says, born speaking English is a shit example. It doesn't mean you don't choose to continue speaking it every day. You can stop speaking your native language anytime.
You could, but I use that as or sorry, was that it?
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was gonna like the fact that he even says that unironically, like it's like anybody that's reasonable is just like, okay, well, like the idea that you choose to speak your language, you choose to continue speaking your language, that's pretty silly. Like this is a heavily weighted choice. Like you're very, very, very likely to continue speaking your birth language, and you're pretty unlikely to learn a second one, right? Depending on where you live.
All right. Mr. Mann says, if Islam is a choice, why do they kill apostates?
Not all of them do, but I mean, some of them do. I mean, some Christians have. I think it's more common right now because of the parts of the world where it's practiced, where Islam is. But I mean, if you're into apostasy, that's pretty fucked up, I think.
Toya says, don't worry about the Westboro Baptist guys. They were just born into it, my dude. LOL, nice to know Destiny supports the church.
I mean, like, I think religion is an important part in a lot of people's lives. The rituals associated with it, the community building, all that, it's probably, like, necessary, like, for the human condition. I don't like the theology part. I think it's real fucking stupid. You get people like Nick that unironically think they have objective moral authority because they happen to choose the one out of 5,000 existing religions that they think is correct. I think that's real stupid.
Now, this is, there's a lot more to read, but this is a topic that I meant to bring up earlier. Where are you on the... I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What do you think about homeschooling?
That's a really complicated one. It really depends on why you're doing it, where you're doing it, and what the impact is. Like, some people homeschool because they think they can give their kids a better education. In that case, it's probably fine. Some people do it because they're like against what the state teaches and they're very conspiratorial. That's probably not fine. If you're a good teacher, it's probably good. If you're a shit teacher, it's probably bad. Like, it really depends. You need more information, or I would have a good judgment on it.
Do you think people should be allowed to homeschool in any like case?
That's a really hard one. I would have to think. My gut is no. I don't think so. I think we should probably have like federal guidelines set for what a student should be able to achieve at a certain age, like what Common Core would say. Like, by this age, you should be this proficient in like reading and math. I would say that's probably an important thing that should probably be mandated by the federal government. I'll stand by that. I'll say yeah, that should be.
So you think if they can't be provided a sufficient alternative, they're required to go to normal public schooling?
Yeah, if they can't pass the tests, yeah.
I would disagree with that.
Okay.
What do you think about homeschooling in general, Soph? And you could even tie that into, the current public schooling system.
I think it's a great choice. It's a great alternative. I'm personally doing a half homeschool, half regular high school program. I'm gonna transfer to that next year to have more time for this YouTube type thing. And I think if you don't want to have your child be subjected to what's going on in public schools right now, I think that's fair. Because for me, clearly, just moving to California, there's so much political bias in the schools that I think the parents should have a choice to opt out of that.
Do you think parents should have a choice to opt out of things like vaccinations?
Well, yeah.
Okay, I disagree with that. I think that there are some things that serve the common good well enough that we should probably mandate them at the federal level, because not doing so has the potential to cause way too much harm in society. And I think that all of us, in some ways, have an obligation to better society. So, for instance, having like large swaths of people that are totally uneducated would probably cause a lot of harm to society, much the same way that having large amounts of unvaccinated people can cause a lot of harm to society.
I think you can. I think just on the scale that we're operating right now with the state, I think you can't make these universal decisions where everybody has to do one thing. You have to split it up more into communities, and certain people would make, free association communities where they have certain policies like, okay, yeah, we all agree to all vaccinate our children and that sort of thing. And people can divide themselves up like that. But right now, people don't have the choice to opt out of certain decisions like vaccinations and have that sort of policy going on in their community.
Well, sure. But we kind of have to do that, right? Like, that's the only way that a country can realistically work. We have to be the integration from community to community is really important. This is why we exist as
a country work, but you don't necessarily need a state for there to be reasonable order.
Well, but you probably need a state to continue to ensure the existence of its people, right? Like, I don't think if we were, like history shows, right? Like, large empires, large nations generally can provide for and defend their peoples better than like just roaming tribes of people.
Well, there's always, private military, and I think if there's scattered tribes of people, they're all going to, if there's a threat, they're all going to band together to fight for their freedom together because it's all in their interest to maintain that freedom.
Yeah, but I think that generally, I'm making some broad statements here, but I think that people are probably happier not having to worry about securing funding for a private military to defend their existence. They're probably happier to just live in a country where that's kind of a given, and then focus on what should I major in college.
If people want to choose to be part of that government, but right now they don't really have that choice. Like, if you live in a certain place, you are just part of a government, and that's a given. So,
that's kind of where we.
If people want that taken care of for them, then that's their choice. But I don't want that to be, have to be subjected to anybody else who doesn't want that.
Technically, you could leave the country and go and find some like unsettled wildland or something, I guess, and try to.
I would want to do that. I'm interested in actually setting up a micronation in the future if I ever have the funds to do that.
Okay.
All right, let me read some more of these. Ben Noach says, please define what a Nazi is. And then he says, National Socialist, ? I'm assuming he's talking to you.
Yeah, the phrase National Socialist is kind of vacuous unless we look at, I guess, like the actual ideas of the party. But my main tenets today for when I see like Nazis today, I align them. Maybe this might be ignorance on my part, but I kind of like see alt-right and Nazi as being like incredibly similar positions. So you're usually bought into the Jewish question. So for instance, you believe that Jews are running society to try to destroy the white man. You usually buy into things like race realism. So for instance, you believe that there are biological realities that describe the difference in IQ between white people and black people. And then as a result of those two beliefs, you usually advocate for some form of if not an ethno-state, like a sovereign nation that can protect its own peoples or whatever, however you dog whistle it.
Let's see. Dan said, bad faith actors, big brain Destiny just made the argument to deplatform himself. Dog whistles can only be heard by other dogs, so Destiny is alt-right.
He fucking got me, dude. That's deductively true. He fucking dominated the fuck out of me.
Chiv Knight says, because Antifa want to hurt me, we should kill all of them. Destiny wants me dead. He might not admit it directly, but I know he's a threat. And then he says, to the pyre with him.
I mean, if some people feel like Antifa represents like a real threat to their existence, then yeah, sure. The arguments there that a left-leaning person would say, that an Antifa person would say, well, the right is already practicing violence against us, so that doesn't change anything. If you want to practice like actual direct violence, it's more or less the same as what's being practiced now, right? People on the left would argue that things like the police force, for instance, only exist to further entrench the interests of capitalists or whatever. I don't agree with these arguments, but yeah, they'd be fine with that. If you were to tell an Antifa person, well, a right-leaning person is going to start enacting violence on you, they'd say, fuck it, bring it, we're already doing it. Assuming you're talking about like Antifa, like maybe like in Europe. I don't think in America they're that extreme, but there are groups that would say that.
Dirk Lyman says, Destiny, I don't really think that you understand the violence that you're calling for. You know nothing of war and would not be ready for it.
I mean, okay.
Have you ever been to war? I haven't.
I mean, I haven't been to war. I probably played with a gun more than the people and the average person in this audience has. But I mean, I know how to shoot. I could do that. That's all I got, though. But I mean, no. I mean, obviously, I'm not ready for war. That's one of the great privileges afforded to me by living in a nation state. I don't have to worry about being ready for war constantly. It's something that the state takes care of me for. I pay taxes. I don't worry about that shit.
I see. So you don't want me to bring in Venti chats on my case about that? You're against that?
No, she like the last like 3 conversations.
She did make a video about you.
I know, but it's so stupid. It's always she's like obsessed with this. Basically, there was one day where we were on stream and she had me dragged in, or I entered a stream with her and like a bunch of other Twitch people, and then we got into some big argument over the child porn shit, and everything she said was so stupid, and everybody in that argument ended up siding against her, which was the opposite of me going in. She thought that they'd all side with her, and she's been so ass blasted by that conversation that she constantly like either tries to get me banned from places or is like bragging about like taking down me with hit piece videos that bring up clips from like 8 years ago or some dumb shit. Like, it's just boring. Like, I don't want to sit here like have her come in and like fucking scream at me like, well, what about the pedophile? You were a fucking pedophile. Like, it's just boring to me. Like, she can go make another hit piece.
You did ad hom a fair bit.
Oh yeah, I did. I admit that. I did.
And I think on other occasions you've advocated for her getting deplatformed as well. So
yeah, I have. I do, and I still do. Yeah, I think she's a very, very I think she's a very intentional bad faith actor. I'll use that phrase again. I think that she deliberately lies or spreads misinformation on her stream. Oh, she's also done like the pit bull thing too. Remember the pit bull thing I mentioned, Nick? She also has videos talking about how horrible pit bulls are, which is like a dog whistle for like African Americans, right? Yeah.
That's just a joke, man.
Okay.
Real quick, did you strike or did you try to file a copyright claim against her video that she made on you?
No, I didn't, but I tweeted it about it. She got real fucking mad. I think I tweeted
done that before. But you've done that before. You can understand like why people.
If people rip like all of my content and for reasons, then yeah, I'll do it. But like for people that do like
but you've done it on things that are like objectively.
Wait, then why didn't I try to do? Wait, why didn't I do it? Why didn't I do it on the Naked Ape video or like Sargon's critiques of me?
Would you admit that Brittany's video was fair use?
Yeah, absolutely, in every sense of the word, for sure. But like, so was Naked Ape's hit piece on me. That's one of the most popular like slander pieces on me on the internet. Or like when Sargon made a larger piece about me. Yeah, of course. I never did say shit like that.
You do have a history of doing it, so you could understand why people might be pissed off that you might be trying to fuck with their money, right?
I mean, that's like asking me if I'm going to drive like into a store because I have a history of driving. I mean, like I DMCA
no,
shit.
That's like saying that you have a history of DMCAing people.
I have a history of DMCAing people that like that straight rip my content and upload it onto their YouTube. I don't do it for people that do transformative works.
Well, you said that you've also done it because it pissed you off.
Well, but they're already like in violation of my copyright. I'm usually like pretty chill. Like if somebody rips my shit because they're making a fan channel or some shit, I'm usually like, whatever, that's fine. But if somebody's doing,
understand why people would get upset about that, right?
Understand why they can't like steal my content and use it to just like.
But you okay?
I'm being a little facetious. I understand what you're saying, sure, but like I don't. Okay. I mean, I get just yeah. I'm sorry. I'm being an asshole. I'm being really obtuse. I understand what you're saying. Why people would think that? Yeah, sure, but I don't do that. I never. It's just annoying because I never do that. I've never done that to like a larger hit piece video about me. I've never DMCA'd videos like that. I don't do that.
All right.
So I can't just bring you in for a second.
What? No, it's
2
just gonna be.
minutes. Chad is begging.
No, it's gonna be
Right,
so
yes.
dumb.
Discussion, it'd be
Wait,
great.
can
you
can
obviously have some differences to settle.
no? But we've talked about everything we can. I don't even know if I'm allowed to on fucking where I'm at right now. Like, it's just I don't want to fucking do it. Let's finish this up because I'm supposed to see a movie like pretty soon too. So like, yeah.
What movie are you going to see?
Pet Cemetery.
Oh, dude. Okay. Sorry, I won't get into that, but I heard it was really good, and I want to see it too.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So I know Chad's saying bring her in, and I do like Brittany. She was on this show just last night.
She can come in and she can talk all the shit she wants as soon as I step out. Okay.
But I do have a policy, and I know Chad's gonna razz me. You know, Ralph's a cuck, whatever. But I do have a policy that you know I don't ambush or whatever if he says he doesn't want her on. Then, okay. Because and I know Chad, they'll say what they're gonna say, but you know, people won't come back on your show. So
if she really wants to set up a talk, we can set one up for a future point if she really wants to. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, if she
All
really
right,
wants
that
to.
sounds
I mean, my schedule's open and I fucking set this shit up all the fucking time. I like now. I will say that it's very funny right now that she is like begging, she's seething to get into here and talk to me. When I tried to set up conversations with her in the past, she would always dodge and say, talk to my agent and maybe we can set it up in a month, even though like everyone knows she has fuck all to do in her free time, right? She would do that to me in the past, but now that she's been deplatformed from Twitch, now that she's fucking banned from places, and now that she has no relevance on the internet, she's like fucking thirsting at the mouth to like hop on my dick. I think that's pretty funny that she changed her tune there, but yeah.
I don't know. Her YouTube videos are doing pretty well.
Are they?
And Chad is really the one that's asking for.
How many views is Brittany pulling a month on her YouTube?
I think the Pokemon one that she made pulled in 500,000 views already. And her live streams are actually kind of like getting to like 1K mark. I don't know how long she's been streaming, but
maybe pretty soon we'll go back to me begging her to come on so I can get popular again. But
all right, well maybe we can set it up sometime in the future. Okay. Nat said Destiny made the argument for violence on the right or right. That's not what he said, but that's what he meant. Commander Lost Jayhawk says Destiny, the white spokesman of the marginalized. Nitrogen says, if you're in that much danger, Destiny, then do us all a favor, and I won't read the rest of that part. But
did he tell me to kill myself?
Yes.
Wow.
Very blatant manner. A Bald Guy Creation says the pimple is thick tonight. Mirror Hulk says YouTube is already using age discrimination against her. She made a video about it, but she's not mad, right? The Bastard says Destiny advocates violence against black nationalists. That was coming. Draven Williams says Destiny reading Nick Fuentes' mind and assuming his true intentions like all leftists. That's called ad hominem big brain.
No, it's called inductive reasoning. It's pretty basic. You can Wikipedia it. I mean,
Pinky Culture says, what does Destiny think of casual racism?
Is that a term? I'm not sure what that means. Is it like microaggressions, or what does casual racism mean?
I guess, or just maybe you use words like the N-word or whatever, but you just still want to like joking around during a game.
Yeah, sure. So the problem with casual racism is that it can be practiced by people that aren't necessarily racist. This is something I have a lot of trouble with a lot of progressives. Somebody will look at somebody that says like the F word, like for gay people. Somebody will look at somebody that says that and they'll be like, oh, like this guy's homophobic. He hates gay people. It's like, well, no. A lot of the times they don't hate gay people. It's just a word they use, but it kind of like unintentionally makes these homophobic attitudes more pervasive. And so this is usually the reason why, like, so for me, like, I try not to say these words. I don't even say like retarded or autistic anymore, even though you still can on Twitch, because I don't like, there's a couple of things. Like, one, if there is somebody that watches me that's like legitimately autistic or retarded, I don't want that person to think like, oh fuck, like Destiny kind of thinks that like I'm that bad, or he thinks that I'm a shitty person. Like, I don't want somebody watching me to think that. That makes me feel like shit. And then two, if you're somebody that hates these groups of people, I don't want you to feel like you've got like camaraderie with me. They're like, oh yeah, Destiny hates gay people too, because I am bigoted, you know, even if I don't use it in that way. So that's generally why I advocate against like those types of against like racial speech, even if I say racial speech, like racist speech, even if you're not racist, at least publicly, because I feel like you have a responsibility to not like allow those messages to become more pervasive and harmful in society by empowering the people that are racist.
I don't see. Do you think people should be deplatformed for using those words?
Nope.
Okay, well then fair enough. I was gonna say that is there any actual evidence that shows that just saying homophobic slurs for gay people or the N-word or something like that is actually
the problem is that like asking for evidence like that is kind of like asking if there's like evidence for evolution. Like there is, but it's a very complicated conversation. Like in order to get from
it's the same.
They're not the same thing, but like what I'm saying is like if I want to talk about how like evolution occurs, we have to take almost like a multidisciplinary approach from physics to chemistry to biology in order to actually get to like the answers of like, well, how does evolution work? And it's the same thing with like, how does saying like a PewDiePie joke online lead somebody to go and shoot up a mosque? Well, this doesn't happen, right? Like a person doesn't make a Nazi joke online, like, oh, PewDiePie did the kill all Jews video, I'm gonna go kill all the Jews, right? That doesn't really happen. Like, and most people should be honestly admitting that doesn't happen. But what can happen is if you're part of a community that makes a lot of jokes that are derogatory towards a certain group of people, over time, it's possible that somebody could introduce you to ideas that are actually negative about these groups of people, and you're more likely to listen to those ideas because they've already been normalized in your humor. And then people that are more willing to listen to those ideas have a higher chance of being radicalized. People that are radicalized have a higher chance of doing more radicalized things, like either being overtly racist or eventually enacting acts of violence against groups of people. But like that whole conversation, right? Wait, we could talk like for hours about any single part of that.
It's a big reach. You know, it's possible, but it's a really big reach, and I don't think we should.
I don't think it's a big
against
reach.
Anybody for that reason, because you know, it's like, how could you paint direct responsibility?
I don't think that it's a reach. First of all, responsibility, I agree, is really hard, right? I don't think I would ever hold somebody that says racist jokes as being responsible for a terrorist attack. But I think I could say that you're responsible not to create a culture that pervades harmful or hurtful attitudes that could lead to people being radicalized, that could lead to racist attacks. Like, these are pretty easy things to avoid. So, I mean, for me, like, why not avoid it? It's pretty easy for me not to call people, you know, fags. Like, I can do that pretty easily. And if I do that and it contributes to less people being homophobic, well, why wouldn't I? Like, I don't really need to say these words. I don't really need to make, like, homosexual people that watch my stream feel like fucking horrible or feel like I'm ostracizing them or empowering people that hate them, you know?
Well, I disagree that it would create that culture, and it's it's just language. People should be able to use those words if that's how they want to express themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I understand your point, but like, I mean, it's unfortunately, it's like a really complicated conversation. Like I mean, there are lots of frameworks by which we could talk about this, but yeah, I mean, I do believe that like, it's very rare that we find a person that's like super racist all the time and all their humor. Like they go on to poll, they make racist jokes about Indians, poo in the loo, shit the streets, about black people, blah, blah, blah. And then when you talk to them, like outside of that, they're like, oh yeah, actually I'm an egalitarian, that I support equal rights for all people. I don't hold these harmful attitudes towards any groups of people, right? Like the humor and the bad thoughts oftentimes seem to run hand in hand. And I think there's a reason for that.
They could run hand in hand, but there definitely are people who make those jokes and are still egalitarian. I mean, I see that all the time with Gen Z. Because they've been on the internet for so long, they can make those jokes and it doesn't hold that sort of same weight for them. They still believe, oh yeah, we should like equal rights for everybody. And
yeah, I agree. I'm one of those people. I agree with you. Like, so like in my personal life, like I make a lot of fucking horrible, dark, racist jokes. Like I do that a lot personally, but that's around people that I know personally. It's around people that I know don't have these types of like harmful attitudes. However, as a public figure, when I come out on my platform, I don't know what people think, right? I'm not comfortable making those same types of jokes out here publicly because there might be people that are watching me that do hold those harmful attitudes or beliefs. And I do think I would be reinforcing them by making that type of, by making those types of jokes or engaging in that type of humor.
Oh, okay. That's your choice, I guess, as long as you don't think that people should be deplatformed for that or held responsible.
My deplatforming is only for like hardcore bad faith actors, other people that I want to deplatform, because I think they muddy up the waters.
Oh, all right.
Let's see. Iron Martyr says monopolies cannot exist without government protection. Glad you dropped the dead weight, Ralph. I don't know what the second part's in reference to, but thank you for the donation. The first part I would say is definitely true. Snobby Lon says, how did you learn to speak so quickly, Destiny?
I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah, I was about to say probably just by nature. Blasey Ford's Hippocampus says, I'm staying up late listening to Destiny right now. If my meeting with business leaders doesn't go well, I'm gonna need some gibs from y'all. I think that's a joke about the Faraday Speaks guy that we did play his video on this show.
Do you think that guy's real?
I don't know.
That guy is
man.
obviously trying to get money, dude.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you if you thought he was real. Is what I was about to do.
I feel really uncomfortable like calling someone a troll or saying something, but I don't know, man. He's got like the perfect.
When he was trying to squeeze out the tears in the video, that's when I was really like, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope that he's genuine. I mean, I get a lot of people that email me similar stuff that I think are being genuine, but I hope for the best. So.
Or when he makes a video like a week after his video goes viral saying.
Wait, your mic cut off. Saying what?
Oh, he made a video saying he's going to reach out to local business leaders to like subsidize him watching Destiny videos.
Yeah,
I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think any local business leaders are going to fund a principled, neat lifestyle for him.
There's just too much in there. I don't know.
Well, hold on. I'm sorry. Are you preaching against the Yang Gang, my dude?
Hey, listen.
Excuse me.
We need to focus on the bag.
Are you coming after my neat bucks, motherfucker? You better chill out there.
What do you think? I guess we could. Speaking of topics, real quick. I don't know.
Wait, okay, hold on. To be fair, I have to leave like pretty soon. I got like maybe 20 minutes.
Okay.
So, or like even with my stream, so I'd say like I got like 5 minutes. So give me like a good topic here. We can wrap it up. Okay? No, I'm not trying to run.
Callers in, Ralph, because there's some people that have been wanting to get in real quick.
No, I'm just gonna do Yang Gang. What do you think about Yang Gang? And then we'll get.
I have no opinions. I haven't like followed him at all. I really
nothing
don't
on Yang Gang whatsoever.
I know that a lot of alt-writers love him for some reasons, but I have no idea why. I follow like Richard Spencer on Twitter, and I see that he, or my friend does, and I see that he like likes and retweets his shit all the time. I don't know why this has happened, but yeah, apparently a lot of alt-writers. I've heard that like the goal is like alt-writers want to prop up Yang somehow popularly in order to bring down like other left-leaning candidates to weaken the platform. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I've heard. It's possible, but yeah.
And I guess I'll just kick it to Soph. Do you have anything that didn't get brought up? I know that the Nick versus Destiny thing kind of took up a whole hour out, but we still got what hour and a half to.
Say, can we pull in somebody real quick? His name's Saint Thomas Aquinas in the I guess he's on the other voice channel.
Okay, we'll pull him in real quick, and I think there's actually a Destiny fan in there too, from what I was told.
Vespa.
Oh god.
Okay, we'll do those quick calls and then we'll let Destiny go. Okay, Saint Thomas, go ahead real quick.
Hey, Bonnell, you hear me?
Yeah, what's up, buddy?
I have a little paragraph to say, and I have a question right at the end. I'll make it concise. I'll keep it under a minute.
Okay,
all right.
for it, yeah.
Seeing as Bonnell takes the modern Eminem approach of speed equals quality to debating, I'd like to take him up on something that I haven't seen anyone else take him up on, which is his use of inductive reasoning as a euphemism for his guesses of what ideologies people that he doesn't like are subscribed to. Because Nick Fuentes doesn't think promoting miscegenation is cool, and because he shared a couple of poll memes about the Holocaust, which he has already clarified that he doesn't necessarily stand behind, you're gonna flex your goatee muscles and let those words slither out of your dirty fucking pedophile defending divorce, having, child abusing, leaving your kid behind mouth, calling him a Nazi and justifying violence against him? Regardless of what he said, I'll kiss Nick in his mouth like St. Francis did the leper. But you, my friend, are partners and good friends with Hassan Piker, who believes profit is theft. That is essentially the 14 words of the left wing. That's some shit Proudhon or Max Stirner would say. So I could do the exact same thing to you and claim that because of evidence that I've decided is sufficient, I can say that because you think my property can be taken from me for the greater good of society, that violence against you is justified. Listen, I might not be an 18-year-old yet, but I don't think you'd have a problem with getting fucked by a minor in front of an audience. And if you think that violence against people like me is justified because I think a certain way, then I urge you to act it out. I have at least 6 inches on you. By the time I'm done, you'll have 6 inches in you. Underage, just how you like it. Which finally brings me to my question. I understand you have a problem with the word retard. Do you have any problem with the word nigger?
Hey, can you let's not do that. Come on, dog. Come on, dude.
All right. I did.
Cool. We disavow this.
I will apologize for that.
The word is dish, by the way, my friend.
He got me. I did not. Okay.
Oh.
So yeah, I guess we can just end it on that. To be honest with you.
Yeah, okay. Let's end it on that one.
But if you,
amazing.
No, yeah. Oh God.
So, I will say though, it's very funny for all the people that get mad at the profit is theft memes. I haven't found very many liberals that are able to actually attack that notion. I would say to bring that guy on and actually have him defend the idea that profit isn't theft. I'd be curious to hear his defense of it, but I don't know if he could help himself from not slipping out a fucking word there.
Well,
so.
I would have liked to have heard a little more back and forth. He seemed pretty far up. So.
Oh, I also would have liked to hear him say, how could you deductively reason what a person believes? I'd be very interested to hear that. There's a whole theory of mind out there that would be very keen on hearing how you could absolutely deductively know what is in a person's mind. I'm very curious to hear that as well. And as an under 18 person, it sounds like he sure does have the world figured out. So I'd be very curious. Oh, but that's also another thing. He didn't listen to what I said earlier. I don't advocate for violence against him because I don't think you should do anything violent to kids. And since he's under 18, he's still protected. He's still got it sounds like 4 or 5 years to go until I would actually advocate for violence against somebody like that.
All right, very good. So if you got anything else?
I don't know. Just that I want Brittany on.
All right. Well,
before you go, Destiny, I've just received DMs from our good buddy Hassan, and he apparently is calling me a janitor and a sociopath. He called me a pedophile before for calling out his chat and his moderators' very sociopathic behavior towards Soph. Now, I just want to get you to possibly speak on this because he submissively defers to you in a lot of things.
Hassan does not defer to. Hassan has a
dude, that debate, that fucking body language that he had, he was so submissively deferring.
Wait, hold on. You realize that his presence on online dwarfs mine. He's part of like the Young Turks network, right? Like,
yeah, and he leeches off of your viewer base every chance he gets, dude. Come on, dude.
Wait, doesn't he have? Dude, wait, no.
We're not that naive, dude. Come on.
It's not about, I mean, I wish you were right, but he has like, doesn't he have like 500,000 followers on Facebook, like 300,000 Instagram followers, like over 100,000 followers on Twitter, a platform I'm banned from? Like, I mean, like,
trying to get really fucking big on Twitch, and he's latching onto you for every cent he can. Now, I can understand why this relationship would be reciprocal, and that's why I don't really fully expect you to actually call him out, because I don't think that you would do anything that would monetarily disincentivize your possibility.
Okay, hold on. So firstly, if I wanted to monetarily incentivize what I do, I would be right-leaning because it's far more easy to make money.
I know that you keep on saying that, but you keep on saying that, but you still won't call it out. You still won't say
call out his leeching.
No, you won't call out him defending his sociopathic mod's tendencies and defending it and calling me a pedophile.
I mean, I just did, but no, I don't. Okay, so like,
did you really?
No, hold on. You're like
you obfuscated and said that if I was really in it for the money, I'd go on the right wing. I don't know, man. What's the top rated podcast on Patreon right now?
Isn't it like the Dick Masterson one, or what is it?
Try again, buddy.
No, it's Chapo Trap House.
Hey, wait. How much money does Chapo? Wait. How much money does Chapo make?
100,000 a month on Patreon.
How many people are part of the Chapo podcast?
That's true. They do split it up. That's fair.
Yeah, wait, no. How many people are part of it?
How many people are on the Dick podcast?
Isn't it just him and one other guy?
Yeah.
How many people are on Chapo? I'm asking because I don't listen to Chapo. How many people are on Chapo?
4.
I think there's 3 or 4. Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so like it sounds like they're not like that far off each other, right?
They're making double what Dick is making. Math is hard, but there you go.
Actually, they make over 5 times what Dick makes. But
well, no. Wait, I'm talking per person, right? If I have a podcast with 10 people and we make 100, I don't know the number. I don't know why you're saying math is hard. Like I can't do basic subtraction or basic addition.
I don't know, dude. I don't know, but anyway.
Well, okay. Well, no, wait, hold on. Can you can't say like 30 things, okay? Like, so again, I said this earlier. I know that like maybe people on the left, you like to group them all together, but this idea that Hassan is like hardcore, like leeching off my community, like literally one of the problems Hassan has is that a lot of people in my community don't like him. So for instance, if you would go and visit my subreddit yesterday, there are literally threads that like the most recent thread I see is Destiny should use his power to influence his community and make people stop hating on Hassan for fuck's sake. Like that's literally like the most recent post in my subreddit about Hassan.
So real quick, is it appropriate for him to call me a pedophile and a psychopath, calling out this behavior?
Okay. I don't know. I don't hold people accountable for like.
It seems like he's defending the behavior of sociopaths. Does it the behavior I described to you? Would you not call it?
You're asking me to come out and take a strong stance on something that I am totally fucking clueless about.
Well,
I don't.
Took a very.
I took it very what? Wait, what stance did I take that is hypocritical?
Hold up. I would fully be on board to go over the video with you and talk about this in detail, and then get a thought out and detailed response from you after that, if you'd be up for that. But like I said, I don't think you will.
Wait, about what?
About him defending sociopaths and calling me a pedophile for calling it out.
Wait, why did he call you a pedophile? Can you tell me? I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
Because I called out his chat, talking about how much they wanted to shoot Soph.
Wait, somebody is linking me that you have a video on your channel titled, "I'm going to fuck this 12-year-old at VidCon." Is this real?
That's not on my channel.
Listen, I don't know what the fuck. You're asking me to comment on something that I'm totally fucking clueless about.
Yeah, I know you're
Wait a minute.
I have no idea, dude.
I guess send me the link. I haven't seen.
Yeah, I've made absolutely no such video.
Oh, sure. Here, hold on one second. I don't even know. Can I link things like in this channel? The Shillery?
Yeah, you should be able to see
in the Shillery or in the.
Okay, looking at this, I'm pretty sure this is photoshopped. The text looks photoshopped. I have no fucking idea. That's your channel. Oh, okay, never mind. Okay, I have no fucking idea. All right.
Wait, whose channel? Where's this from? No, wait a minute.
No. So the screenshot is on my channel, and then they photoshopped the text. I guess I don't know if this is from your community or something.
Photoshopped it. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're like asking me to hardcore come out and take a stance against.
No,
something?
I'm not asking if you would be willing to come out over what I have recorded and see if that is something that you would call sociopathic.
I don't. That's so weird. Wait, how about like I can just like disavow the behavior? I don't know if I would call something sociopathic. People call me sociopathic. What the fuck do you?
Because I think you're obfuscating and not.
No. I'm not obfuscating.
Really
like here would be
behavior in your circles.
No.
Because yet again, it might monetarily incentivize. It might be a monetary. There might be a monetary reason behind it.
Okay, so you're telling me this, and then as soon as I leave, everybody in my community is going to ask me why I don't call out behavior more of right-leaning people. For instance, Trainwrecks or Asmongold or XQC, whose communities are very right-leaning on Twitch. Like, I do this to everybody. Like, I'm pretty consistent here. I don't go around and I don't tell people, hey, you're a horrible person. You know, I'm not going to talk to you anymore until you fix your community. I don't do that.
You just retweet people telling other people to do it.
Well, no, I tell people to do it all the time. I think you should, but I'm not going to like defriend somebody or like not associate with somebody because I don't think they police their community hard enough.
I'm not asking you to disassociate with
then
somebody.
What are you asking me to do?
I'm just asking for you to call out advocating for the execution of 14-year-olds for having Gab accounts.
I just did. I already said that.
Okay.
He did say that.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you should never be like bullying fucking high school people for their fucking political beliefs. That's stupid as fuck, especially not calling for their death. That's really weird. Yeah.
Bully. All right, thanks.
Also, you never said anything when Nick called me a pedophile like 30 fucking times earlier in this conversation, but...
Oh, no, I'll fully call out the fact that, no, I think that the pedophile allegation is wrong, although you did say that, like, the morality of a society, basically, if there was no taboo against pedophilia, that would be okay. It was... That part
no, in that exact thing, I said there are like 20 different reasons why it's not okay for adults to fuck children. We can go over those if I need to remind you, but it's not just because it's taboo. There's a whole host of reasons why that's really fucking bad.
By the way, there's somebody's mic's crackling. I think that's Flamenco's, but I'm not.
It might be. I'm sorry.
But I'll go ahead and let you go, Destiny. I do want to thank you for coming on. You've been very good about coming on the show.
Thanks, buddy.
And taking on Nick and everything tonight. And you're one of the few lefties that will come on the program, so I have to give you all the credit in the world for that. And hopefully we can have you back again sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks, Flamenco and Ralph Revised, and even so, thanks for the conversation, buddies.
Thanks for being on, Mr. Bonnell II.
Yep, have fun.
Definitely come on again soon.
Thank you, Dustin.
Sure,
appreciate it.
Oh. Okay. Oh, getting to talk to Fuentes one-on-one. Oh, I feel like I edged for like the past like 20 hours, and I just get to blow my fucking load. Oh, all tonight. It felt so fucking good. God fucking damn. Oh, I hate that fucking slippery, slimy fucking bastard. Fuck that kid. Oh my God.